Thank you guys for being here. This is super exciting. I know in your membership, I said like, okay, we're gonna do this like once a month. I would like to do these way more often. Like I would love to do them once a week. I just was hoping that I could give you guys like a second Thursday of every month or, something that was reoccurring so people kind of had a schedule they could work around. But if we were a little bit more lenient with them, now that we're going to have the ability to like record them and post them, I would love to do them more often, just like as I'm home or as I have time. So anytime you guys have questions, I would love to be able to do these because then it's a quick, fast, easy way to like have a discussion and everybody can learn from each other, which I love. So that is the plan for now, but we'll keep going with that. So first off, I know a lot of people have watched like that podcast that I did with Greg, which really gives you like an overview. But let me just give you guys a quick rundown on like how I would recommend to listen and a few things in case you guys bought in and didn't get the full spiel, because I know there's actually been quite a few people that did that. So essentially, what this is to help reprogram your subconscious mind. And it's the audio recordings. Obviously, everyone in here has probably listened by now. And the cool part about it is that it allows us to bypass the conscious. And so this is something that unless you're doing something like this, you aren't really improving your subconscious. Like you're doing stuff at a conscious level, which is like a surface level. So the cool thing about the program is it's just different than what anybody else is doing or offering currently in archery. I had a lot of people initially that were like kind of skeptical. And I was like, listen, this isn't anything new. Like I didn't make this up. You can go look at any other pro sports or any other Olympic athletes and like they're using this. They just have to go pay sports psychologists an absurd amount of money to like have access to something like that. Or, have it done for them that way. And so I was just like, oh, I want to bring it to archery. It's something that people can actually like afford and do it because who wants to go take the time to do that? So the music inside, how many people, I guess for those of you with your camera on, do you guys normally listen with headphones or are you just listening in general? I saw someone raise a hand. Also, I do not mind. You guys don't have to raise your hands if you want. Like so far, we haven't had any crazy feedback or loud background noise. So if you want to just unmute and say, hey, and butt in, like, please do.
My son was listening with his ear pods
Perfect.
at night, and he said he falls asleep. And then at the end of it, when you wake, like when it starts a wake up session or something like that, he said he wakes up and he listens to the end of it and then like goes back to bed. But he said, man, he said it really like the sleep part of it puts him in a trance. Not a trance.
Okay, if he's actually waking up to the wake up, then that means he is in like the full meditative state, which a lot of people can't actually achieve or it takes them time to achieve. So that's pretty cool. But let him know that there's a toggle and there's a sleep version and an awake version. And so if he's laying down to go to sleep, just have him do the sleep version. And instead of waking him up at the end, it says like, keep sleeping and stay relaxed. So that way he doesn't have to wake up. So there are two different versions. Like anytime that you purchase a recording, it comes with that. And exciting, I did create already and I've sent it to Kit. He's awesome. I know he'll have it up soon. And it is a body only. So a bunch of people have asked like, hey, I listen driving or I listen shooting and I don't want to have to fast forward or like deal with that. So I actually redid every recording and I faded the music out at the end, whether it was the sleep or awake, because people were like, I do the sleep, but when the music abruptly stops, then I wake up. And I was like, okay, so I redid them all, faded the music out. Another glitch somebody caught was there was something in the Hinge Target Panic one that was talking about in a later part of it, like setting your finger on the trigger, which shouldn't have been there. So that's been edited, fixed, and that will be re-uploaded as well. And then I made a body only option that will be in there for every single recording. And so if you want to listen to like the full thing when you lay down or if you're sitting down, that's great. If you want to use it shooting, you can do the body only to make it easier for you guys. And then we also already, this is updated for sure. There's already a loop feature. So if you hit the download or save for offline, as soon as you do that, you will see loop on and loop off. We purposely set it like that because we did not want someone accidentally having loop on and like running off their own cell service all night or something and having an issue with that. So if it's downloaded, then it's only the internet service that it took to download it once, and then it can replay all night and not cost you guys money or data or anything. So if you would like to loop it, because I have had people ask if they could just play it on replay all night. So that is already set up in the system as well. So we've been making lots of changes. I had to go back in and like re-edit and recreate the new bodies and kind of get all that put together. But that is done and sent off to Kit, so it will be up very soon if it's not already. But I did test and the loop is working and it's been up for about a week. So anyway, that's exciting. Um, so when listening, the music in there, for anybody who doesn't know, it's called binaural beats. And you can absolutely just listen, especially like if you're driving or if you're shooting or anything like that. You don't have headphones on, no big deal. Like the music's just relaxing, it's there to be there. But if you are in a place that you can wear headphones and it has to be in or on both ears for this to work, the music's called binaural beats. And essentially how that works is it puts different hertz frequencies in each ear. And then as those frequencies go into your brain, the brain cannot stand that there's two different frequencies. So it creates a balancing frequency in the middle. And so the balancing frequency of the music that is on these recordings creates theta waves. And so I'm sure you guys are familiar with like the different states of sleep, where you have like deep sleep, REM sleep, light sleep, all those things. So depending on sleep states, we create different brain waves. And so science says that theta waves is the best brain state to have to be in a meditative state and to reach your subconscious. And so the music that's on there is actually that fancy binaural beat music, to where even if you aren't in that relaxed state of mind, if you have the headphones in, it's forcing your brain to create theta waves, even if you're not relaxed. So it still goes deeper into your subconscious. So that was something that I did notice a difference, because I'm not all that great myself at like being calm and relaxing and just sitting there all the time. And so by putting that on, I did tell a difference. Like, okay, it's kind of like force shoving it into my brain without me having to be in the perfect brain state, if that makes sense. And so that did help. And then people were asking, like, is there a benefit to using it while I'm shooting or while you're driving? And the honest answer is the more you listen, the better it is. And it doesn't really matter how you listen. Now, science says the deeper you are and more relaxed that you are, the deeper it will go into your subconscious and the faster it will go into your subconscious. But it's still going into your subconscious at different levels depending on how you're listening. And so anytime you listen, it's still a benefit. And I would recommend listening different ways, because everyone's brains are a little bit different. And so I don't think it would hurt to have it in there in like a couple different facets, if that makes sense. So um, that's just an update on the music. I'm just trying to think. I've had email questions as well from people that are in the membership. So I wanted to kind of just kick it off by touching on some of those. Does anybody on here, before I keep rambling, have specific questions that they want to ask before we keep going?
I don't know if anyone else has had this issue, but I'm deaf in my left ear, so I'm not able to necessarily listen with a pair of headphones.
Okay.
So I'm not sure how it's necessarily going to work um, with the differing frequencies, but
Yep. Yeah, and honestly, then like you probably won't just get the binaural beat benefit, but you don't
yeah.
have to have that. Like I only added that in probably in the last 2 years. So the first like 9 years I was listening to these, I didn't have that. I didn't even know it existed, and it still worked really well, like all of that time. That was just something that as I kept learning and like researching and doing trainings with different people and classes online, that I would like pick up different things. So that was one of the more recent things that I picked up, that it was like, whoa, that's a cool additive. Before I just had meditative music that was like a certain, rhythm beats and whatever that they said was good for meditation. But yeah. So a lot of people are listening and they never even use headphones. Like some people are only doing it during the day. That's totally fine. Like
Mm.
just however you use it or the more you use it, it's still going to work. How many of you guys are familiar with Lanny's daily affirmation cards? So Lanny Basham, if you've read that book, yeah, a couple hands go up. Um, so that is what his daily affirmation cards are doing. It is subconscious reprogramming, but it is a surface level or like an entry level subconscious reprogramming. Does it work? Yeah, but it just takes a lot more time and like a lot more reading. So I started with those and it was like, okay, I don't really understand how this works, but I'll try it. Like I'm open to anything. And then as I started learning and researching, it was like, okay, this is what he's doing and this is how it works. But I know from the research now that like the more relaxed you are, the better it's going to be and the faster it's going to work and the deeper it goes into my brain. So that's kind of how I landed. Like it was just years of doing stuff, but that's where it started, was with his daily affirmation card. So a lot of people are like, I don't know about this, but I've done Lanny's thing. And I'm like, well, did you do the cards? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, it's the same thing. It's like his daily affirmation card on steroids, essentially. And they're like, oh, I never thought of it like that. So um, that part of it's pretty cool. One thing, this is really important. I'm probably going to mention this exact piece in like the first 10 lives that we do. So you guys get to hear it probably multiple times since you're here the first one. But um, a lot of people have messaged me and said, okay, I don't understand how or why because I didn't think different and I didn't feel different. But, and then they just achieved something really great. Like I just beat my PB by quite a few points, or I just shot a couple 300s and I'd never done that before, or I won a tournament for the first time. Like there's been so many great positive messages, but a continuous theme in those messages is I don't know what's going on because I don't really feel different or think different, but it was just better. And so I want to touch on that and I want to explain that because I didn't realize like what people would expect, if that makes sense. And so it is normal to not think different. If you are thinking different, that is your conscious mind. Yeah, someone just said me too in the chat. Yeah, you guys can use the chat as well. And I should see stuff as it pops into the chat. So if you don't want to speak, but you want to type questions, absolutely feel free to use the chat as well. So with that, if it was like you were thinking different, that's your conscious mind. It's something totally different. So in the back end of the program, like what we're doing now, I absolutely want to teach you guys the techniques that I've used to help control my conscious mind, because to have like a full mental game while competing, you really do need both. Um, the conscious mind is easier, in my opinion, to distract or, have it do its job. Like the subconscious is really the building blocks that we need, hence the program. But the reason that it's better is because we're bypassing what you're consciously thinking and fixing it like at your core, essentially, like the root of the problem. So what we are doing is beyond your conscious mind's ability of thinking. That's what the subconscious is. And so, I had someone who said to me, he goes, I literally thought, oh my gosh, I haven't shot this good ever. I hope I don't screw it up on the last end. And he goes, normally, if I consciously thought something like that, I would so screw it up. And he goes, but when I got to the line and I shot, I didn't. It just kind of flowed. And I was like, yes, the flow is the subconscious. Like that's what this is doing. So this will not stop you from thinking bad conscious thoughts. It is a whole different part of your brain. But if we can work on that like core belief in yourself and your confidence, your ability, your shot, scores, like whatever it is, the recordings that we're listening to at that time, it makes it easier for the conscious to not fight you so much. And so it's not something where you're going to like wake up and just be like, I feel like a new person, because it's deeper than that. Like it isn't what we're consciously aware of. So I hope that's making sense. I know people keep saying like, am I supposed to feel different? Am I supposed to think different? And I'm like, no. And they're like, well, how am I going to know? And I was like, well, you'll know. And so now as people are achieving things they hadn't achieved before, they're like, okay, now I see what you're saying. Like I'm doing things I couldn't do before, and I've hit goals and milestones that I hadn't done, but I felt the same. I'm like, yes, that makes sense. That's how this is. And so really it's measured by the success that you have, not so much how you feel. And that makes it a little bit harder, right, for people, but that's kind of how it works. Do you guys have any questions on that? I know so many people have sent me messages on that one topic. I'm gonna read the chat also while we're going. No questions there. You guys are making it easy on me. So one of the chat questions said, can we listen to multiple recordings to work on multiple things? Is there a time frame for one or the other? So if you're doing two at a time, that's totally okay. Like if you listen daily or even every other day and you're alternating between two, no big deal. But I had someone at the beginning who was like, I got all five or four and I'm going to listen each every other night. And I'm like, that's not really the best way to do it, because the idea of this is that you want the repetition for it to like really go in your brain. And so you'd be better to pick like one and repeat it than you are do a ton. And so what I would recommend is if there's something that is like your key issue, or if you're looking for a foundational start, the confidence and self-image is something that every single person, no matter what level they're at, could always use. Like there will be something in there to help everybody. And so starting there, I would say give it 3 weeks. And then if they wanted to phase in like a little bit of the target panic one, or they become a winner one, that's been a pretty common like two that people have run together, I can see. Um, Then start to transition over to become a winner and give that one like a solid maybe 2 to 3 weeks. And then after that, you can just alternate between the two and not have a problem. Or I've said, okay, let's say Lancaster's coming and you're like, but I really want both before Lancaster. It's like give one a couple weeks and then just do like an every other kind of thing with the two. And that's totally fine. And honestly, if you're listening every day and then you're alternating between the two, you're getting it every other day, which is great. Like that's still fine. Next question in the chat was how often do I recommend listening? There's not a set amount. It's kind of just the more you listen, the more it's going to help. And so, ideally, if you could listen every day, it's going to work really good and really fast. If you listen once a week, not so much, probably. It's going to take a lot more time, essentially. What we're trying to do is make the subconscious mind believe things that maybe aren't actually true, essentially. And that's why this works, is because the subconscious mind doesn't tell the difference between truth and lie. So we can tell it whatever we want to tell it. But to truly make it believe it, that's where the repetition comes in. And so, like I said, Tim's there, or whoever, like I'm trying to think, okay, if I said, like, you have bright blonde hair, you've got red hair, like whatever, and you don't, your conscious mind is like, no, you're wrong. But if you tell your subconscious mind something over and over and over, then it will believe it, whether it's true or not. And so that's where we can build up like scores that you haven't shot yet. So one of the recordings I'm working on right now is like shoot a Vegas 300. And I plan on making a bunch more. Like I'll do a 5-spot 300. I'll do a 60x on a 5-spot. Like those are easy because I can use the same recording and just change whatever the goal is that you're trying to achieve. Um, but it works so well for score programming. And so essentially the subconscious mind has comfort zones. So how many of you guys you're shooting and you start to suck and you're like, man, this is going to be a really bad scoring round. And then all of a sudden at the end of the round, you kind of like get better and you land around your average, or you start great and you're like, I'm crushing, and then you tank at the end and you land at your average. So the reason that we have averages in things that we do are because of our subconscious mind. It's because it has these comfort zones and it does not like being outside its comfort zone. And so essentially with this, we can reprogram, and Lanny's cards say the same thing, right? He says, write scores or goals or whatever you want to achieve, that we can reprogram to your brain thinking that it's like you to shoot 300s or like you to shoot 30x games or like whatever that is without you doing it. Now, does that mean you're just going to magically have the skill and ability to do it? No, it doesn't. But if your subconscious mind has been the thing that's holding you back and you do have the shooting ability to do that, it will quit holding you back. And then all of a sudden you can actually achieve whatever that is. A lot of people don't realize until they start doing something like this how many things the subconscious mind is holding you back on. And two sports examples that I love, and I did say this in Greg's podcast, so if you listened to that, you heard this already, but the 4-minute mile, they had said for years, like, no man will ever run a 4-minute mile. So they didn't. And then all of a sudden, one dude runs a 4-minute mile. And what do you know? All of a sudden, in the next month, so do all these other people. And they didn't train harder or like do anything different from a physical standpoint. They were just told so often, you can't do this, that they couldn't do it. And it took one dude beating that and them going, wait a minute, it is humanly possible to do this. And now all of a sudden they could. Those are the limitations that would relay to the subconscious mind. So essentially, what we're doing is taking away those limitations that you've put on yourself or that the archery community has put on us or whoever, right? Saying you're not good enough for this, or it's not like you to shoot this score, or you haven't done this yet. And so we can use that from a scoring standpoint to like get you pre-programmed for scores above what you're doing now. And it works phenomenally for that. That's one of the probably the best things that you can do with this. So I'm working on some of those, and those are coming as well. Any other questions yet?
Paige, I have one question.
Shoot.
I'm shooting bearable, and I'm struggling a little bit with target anticipation. For me, for example, I'm listening now. I started about mid-December listening to your recordings, and they're helping. It's slow process that it's going better and better. But with me, for example, when I'm aiming tip of the arrow, I'm coming down from below, and I have to aim really slow to get the aim done. Like I know I took the Joel's course a couple of years back, and he was like, well, just aim, put it right in the middle, and then go through your process. Soon as I do that, I have anticipation to shoot right away. Is there some other physical exercises from your story saying that to do to get through that step as well?
Yes. So anything that from a target panic standpoint, and let me just say, because you said you're shooting bare bow, I'm actually working on a bare bow specific recording right now. And so I was talking to some bare bow people to kind of get their wording and their language to make sure that it was like done correctly for you guys where it could work the best. I have not had a bare bow shooter give me any target panic feedback yet, so I'd love to actually connect with you after this or another day, whatever, but to kind of get your wording on what that looks like, because I would love to be able to include some of that into the bare bow specific recording, just because I won't have a ton of bare bow stuff, right? But at least that way, like, you guys have elements that you need in that. So from a normal mental standpoint, usually when you start to have that anticipation, that comes around like the aim versus the shot and the execution. And so one thing that I've done from like aiming drill standpoint, and to be honest, like, I learned a lot teaching the seminars this fall because everyone is so different. And so as I was helping and working with different people, I'd say, try this, and it wouldn't work for that person, but it might for the next person. And we would kind of roll through different things. So a few of the big things that I've seen help the majority of people that seem to be pretty well mentally accepted by everybody is, and it's different because you don't have a release, right? But you can do it same thing with your fingers, is draw back and aim the bow knowing that you aren't going to shoot. And so draw it back, come down, like get your tip of the arrow wherever you want it to be aimed, and then just hold and hold and hold and aim and hold, and just be okay with your mind, like memorizing that picture and being okay with the aim. Usually the anticipation doesn't come in until you know that you need to shoot that arrow. And so instead of trying to fix both elements at once, if we can do some like aiming drill stuff like that and then incorporate the shooting, that tends to help. And so I don't love letting down because I've got a bad shoulder and it kind of hurts after a while. So a lot of the times when I've done that drill myself, I would come in and I would get it there and I would aim, 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 hold, hold, hold until my shot started to break down and my aim was all over. And then I would just bail off the paper onto the blank bail and then just shoot it. So I didn't have to let it down. So that's another option as well. Typically, the anxiety is around the aim and where it's going to hit, and is it going to hit the middle or not, like all that stuff. And so even if you were shooting a blank bail, it takes that out of it. But the problem is, and the reason I don't always push go blank bail, is it's called target panic for a reason. Like a lot of the times when you go blank bail, you won't have any issues. Like it's going to be fine because you're not aiming at something and there's no expectation. And so you do all this drills, all these work and shots, and then you go back and you add the target in, and what do you know? You still have target panic. Like it comes right back. And so I like to try to fix it on the things that I'm shooting. Another thing I've done is I've shrunk targets down, like certain percentages based off the distance. And I've shot them at 10 yards or at 5 yards. So it looks the same, and you don't have a scope. So it's different for you. But from a compound perspective, it looks the same through my scope that it would at 20 for an indoor face, for example. But my brain knows it should be easier because it's at 5 yards or 10 yards. And so I can do a lot of aiming and execution drill type stuff that way. And I just set my sight to where the arrows don't even hit the target, because when it shrunk, a 27 would like take out the whole yellow. Um, but I've done that as well too, and that helps. And so I would say a lot of the times too, it's like, okay, if we're mid-season and you don't have a lot of time to work on stuff, I do like an every other. So it's like, okay, I'm going to draw back, I'm going to aim one, and I'm going to bring my pin down, and I'm not going to shoot it, but I'm just going to get my pin where it needs to go. I'm going to control that. I'm going to aim it, aim it, aim it till I break down, and then I'm going to let down. And then the next one, actually shoot it. And then one after that, do the aiming thing and then actually shoot it. And so a lot of the times I'm like, well, I don't really, like, I need the strength also. I don't really want to go and never shoot arrows, but I do like a 50-50 breakup like that. And that seems to help as well. I'm not going to lie, like, I've never shot fingers to know kind of how that plays into it, but I'm assuming it's really similar to the same thing we go through, since we're still using a finger, right, to like kind of trigger our releases more or less. Have you tried anything like that yet?
I never tried blank bail like without the target. That didn't kind of make sense to me. I tried on a close distance on a 5-6 yards and shooting at the regular target, 40 centimeter target, or the ones that they're shrink down a little bit. But I never did like you explained to aim and then shoot it actually off the target. Never tried that.
That's
Like,
just because I'm too lazy to let down.
yeah.
Ideally, you would just let that down.
And to
But
me, it's the same. Like I hardly ever let down. Either like fight through the shot, like okay, you can do it, keep pulling more, and sometimes it ended up okay. Sometimes it's like completely off. Um,
I don't let down a lot in practice, but I will let down a lot in tournaments because I know if I do that in a tournament, it's bad. Took a lot of mental work to get to that point. Like when I was younger, I hated letting down always. But now it's just hard. Like, let's say I was going to shoot 200 arrows and I did the 50-50. I don't want to let down 100 times. Like, it is going to hurt my shoulder. So I kind of just built in that extra step to be able to practice that way and not hurt myself, essentially. A few letdowns every now and again are fine. And I will always let down in tournaments if necessary. And I think that's something that we all need to work on as well, is like when we are in the shot and it's broke down to the point that you have a conscious thought of this is too long, like this isn't good, like I should probably let down, my pin is not where it needs to be, whatever the conscious thought is, something like that that like breaks whatever your normal conscious mind process is, it's time to let down. Like 9 times out of 10 when you try to fight through those, they don't go well. And so I don't have a lot of that in practice, which is why I don't typically let down a lot in practice, but in tournaments, I absolutely do. And so that's like a little challenge for you guys. And you'll find, yeah, it sucks and it's not fun, but I'd way rather let down and draw back fresh and have a better chance of hitting that arrow than just fighting through it and whiffing. And I've done it both ways enough, and the whiffing's not so fun. So, um, I would recommend that as well. So, from a barebow standpoint, I'm just curious, how does target panic manifest? I see the comment about the aiming low. I'm going to get there. But how does your guys' target panic manifest? Because obviously, I kind of hate when people say I have target panic because there's like a million different kinds. And so everyone's is different on a compound. You can do a ton of different things. So, are there different kinds in barebow, or is it like you shoot too soon or you hold too long? How does that show up for you?
like for me personally, if I draw my bow, I anchor, and like I said, I'm coming from the bottom, like 5 o'clock, I would say, and slowly trying to get the arrow to the middle of the target. And that at that moment, I think I'm doing like micro collapse, that I'm starting to, in my head, I starting to let the string go. And then I make some anticipation movement either with my bow arm, that I move it a little bit, try to get it back into the middle. On another hand, when I get there and I don't have that anticipation, and I can say in my head, keep pulling, keep that tension, and actually switch my thinking to push pull, and pull, feel actually that I harder pull on my fingers, that I can feel through the tab, that I can increasing the pressure, and those shots break
Okay.
great, and usually they are right in the middle of the target.
Okay. That was a lot of good language. Obviously, I'm going to have this to look back on too, so it's helpful for me to make these correctly for you guys. But um, I'll make sure I talk to you and a few other, like I have a recurve
Yeah.
one, recurve specific one that I'm making as well, just like the barebow one. And so from a finger standpoint or a target panic standpoint, there's more people I know on the recurve side that have been through that. So I will make sure to record some of and put some of that language in there so that way that helps. Um, the closest thing I have right now to what you're talking about would be the target panic one for a hinge or a tension. Obviously, it's still talking about a release, but when it talks about shot execution, it's talking about trusting the float, push pulling, like building pressure, building tension. So it sounds like from your shot, you're still doing that. Obviously, it's just your fingers on the string, not your fingers on a release. But that's the closest thing I have right now that would work. But I have the other one in the works. Like it's mostly written. Now it's just doing a lot of the fine tune and adding in like the specific language. So I will try to get on that as quickly as possible. So someone else said, does it apply for holding low, like half gold, half red, and they shoot a ring? So if you guys have never heard me talk about that, I did that so much of my life, like more of my archery career than not. I aimed very low. And it's funny because I never really cared to fix it because it worked. And so finally it was like, okay, I guess I should fix this. Like, it's kind of annoying. It got really bad at FIDA more than anything. So it was like, all right, I need to actually fix this. And it took time. It took a lot of work, but I absolutely could fix it. So like in the target panic recordings, it says a lot of stuff like you're comfortable aiming in the middle and your mind is happy, like seeing your pin float around the center of the target. The reason all of that is in there is that's essentially what I was using to help myself when it came to locking low. So like in that target panic one, it's not just for like punching, it's for freezing and for aiming. And so I purposely included all of the normal common kinds of target panic in there to kind of try and help work through. So yes, that recording would help. Will the recording instantly magically just fix some form of target panic? Usually not. So the target panic stuff is depends on how deep rooted it is in you, right? Because everyone's got different levels and different kinds. But very often it takes something physical and something mental. So essentially, if we're using this on the mental side, and then we're also doing some things like some aiming drills or execution drills or a release switch or something like that on the physical side, then they both kind of compound together and it makes it a lot easier to beat it faster and not struggle so much through that process. So I did use the recordings like during that time that said all the same stuff about the aiming, like that you'll hear in the target panic recordings. And that came from me using that in my own recording for years, trying to fix the aiming low. And so essentially what my issue was, and this is kind of plays into the questions I was just answering before, is I could aim it in the middle if I knew I wasn't going to shoot it, but it aimed horrible. So if I was going to aim like low, it would just sit, my finger close. But if I tried to aim in the middle, it would do like this. It would go crazy and then it would just sit if I aimed low. And so I was always like, well, why do I want to aim in the middle if it aims bad? I'll just let it sit low. So what I found for myself, and this is my brain, this is why these things are cool because we can all bounce ideas off each other because all of our brains are different. But for my brain, what I found is the highest point that I ever try to aim does not aim. Like it aims horrible. But if I do something where I aim higher than where I want to aim and I get that to aim good, then anywhere I aim below that point is calmer. And so the highest point I ever tried to aim was the middle and it aimed terrible. So I started moving my sight and shooting whole practice games where I would aim at the top of the 10, tweener 9, and then high 9-8 line. And that's as high as I ever went. But I would shoot games aiming in different points because that was helping me like fight through that, and it would aim horrible and my scores weren't great, but I fought through it anyway. But what I found is when I got done aiming high like that and then I started to aim lower in the middle, it was like, oh, it actually aims here all of a sudden, but it never wanted to slow down when that was the highest point. So that helped me a lot. I started doing that in practice. And then the other thing that helped me was from it's different with fingers, but from a release standpoint, when I knew I couldn't shoot it, I didn't really have an issue. But so I was shooting a button at the time. So if I came down with my pin and I put my thumb on my button, because I used to wrap like way before I was near the middle with my thumb, and then it would fall below. When my thumb was on it, I like could not get it back up. It was like it was stuck. It fell to the lowest point, and that's where it wanted to stay. So I had to change my shot timing a little bit where I quit putting my thumb on the thumb barrel, or with my hinge, I quit I quit hitting the click so fast. So essentially I would come down and then stop my pin in the middle and wait like a half second, maybe like just enough that it was like, okay, it stopped there. And then I would roll to the click, or then I would put my thumb on the barrel. And because the pin was already there, it would fight me less. But if I had my thumb on and it like went below, still to this day, if it does that, I have to bail out and let down. Like I'm not getting it back up. And I mean, I shot, let's say probably as long as I can remember. So like maybe 8 or 9 until, so since I was 8 or 9 until probably 2020, like I aimed low. And so, like it was very much deeply ingrained in me bad. So I mean, I did all sorts of things like that. And for me, it wasn't a release issue. Like I aimed exactly the same, whether I shot a wrist strap, a hinge, a button, like it didn't matter. I would do the same thing. So that kind, there was no like easy fixes. Those are just a few of the things that I did, and like compounding that, it helped. Now, I will say I didn't just say I'm never aiming low again and just fix it, because I had tournaments every weekend that I can't really just go suck in because people are mean about it. So what I would do is I would say, okay, I'm never shooting an arrow in practice again that I'm aiming low. And then I would give myself a little bit of grace in the tournaments every weekend and just be like, okay, whatever point it wants to sit low, I'm just going to let it go, but I'm going to keep working on it in practice. And what I found is that every week, every other week, it was like it would be a little bit higher comfortably every single time until I could go to tournaments and actually aim it in the middle. And I'll say still to this day, I don't aim dead middle. Like if I was going to aim at something, I aim kind of popsicled where I can see the middle and my pin's right below that. And I'm totally okay with that as long as it stays in that point and it's comfortable there. Type A people tend to want to see what they're aiming at more than type B people. And I'm very much type A. And so my brain kind of freaks out if I cover what I'm aiming at. I've tried those giant dots, like that cover most of the yellow, and my brain will literally do whatever it takes and move it so much out of the way just to see the middle. And so I'm like, yeah, that's not going to work for my brain, but it might work for someone else's. And so yeah, it's kind of just trying to find those little things to like cheat the system essentially. But it's a lot easier if you're doing something on the physical side and you're supporting it by doing something with the subconscious. Like that's absolutely going to help and make it easier to tackle. Where before, you might not have been able to beat it, like it might make it possible. So I'm not going to lie and say like, oh, you just listen 10 times and your target panic's going to go away. Like, no, it won't work like that. But if you combine the two things, it absolutely is going to make it much more achievable than what it was before without it, for sure. Any other questions? Someone said, yes, this is great for those of us who have to see what I'm aiming at. My brain hates dots. Yeah. Everyone's different. Like I have people that'll say, yeah, I can cover it up and I have no problem. And I just know my brain and I'm like, yeah, I would never go for that. So I think that's what's really cool about archery though, is that there's not one way to do it. Like there are so many different ways and different things that we can do to find success. And we just have to find what works for us. And so, does anybody else have anything they want to add? Anything have you guys locked low, beat it, made improvements, something you want to share? Because I know there's a bunch of people in here that are going to have that same problem. I've learned that from the seminars, like 50% of everyone I feel like has that problem.
If I lock low, which happens a lot, I just start pulling as hard as I can to get it to come back up. And a lot of times for me, if I am low, or even if I'm not holding well, if the pin's jumping around a lot, I'm not engaging my back enough, and I've got to like really make a conscious effort to like pull, like I feel like I'm pulling the bow apart, pulling it in half, and then it'll come back up to the center. Or if I can recognize that as I'm coming down, as soon as it crosses into the 10, that's when I start really engaging my back and just kind of let it settle in the middle, and then hopefully the release goes off at that point.
Yeah. More often than not, the answer to a lot of the problems is pull. And I just learned the hard way this last weekend that it's really easy to shoot a bow and not actually pull. um, yeah, that was like an eye-opening experience for me. And so I shot attention this last weekend, if you guys missed that. And I was talking to Madison Cox today. I shot with her on Sunday, and she shot a 300 or no, a 299 with 12 X's. And so we were kind of giving her a hard time, and she was giving herself a hard time. And she's like, who shoots 12 X's? Like, I could accidentally hit that many, And she just said, I kind of told her what I was going through. And I was like, yeah, I'm just kind of freezing and hesitating a little bit. And she's like, that's what I'm doing. Like, I need that. And so I told her, go home and shoot attention. Like, I think it'll shock you what you learn. And so I just posted a follow up. I think that was this morning. If so, that feels like a lifetime ago. I think it was this morning, kind of saying this exact thing. But talked to her today, and she goes, I shot that thing for 2 days, and I did not realize. She goes, I wasn't pulling at all. She's like, when I actually had to pull to make that fire, my body was like, what the heck is this? And I was like, yeah, I'm the same. Like, so much of what we do from a back tension standpoint, if you relax properly, you can fire almost any release, even at a heavier poundage, without really building tension. And so it's a way of cheating the system. And I think a lot of us that have shot back tension for really long start doing that, or versions of that. And I think it compounds over the years. So going back to attention / resistance, having never shot that and actually having to truly push, pull, and build tension, I was like, what the heck is this? Like, I haven't been doing this in years. And my body could feel that I hadn't been doing that in years. So that was kind of humbling for me, for sure. And I will probably ever and always first thing before I guess the recording was on when you asked me that, Tim, but was, or am I going to shoot it at Lancaster? And I'm like, man, I don't know, but I do know that I will forever have it in my quiver, and I will probably start every practice with it and finish every practice with it, just so I make sure that I'm actually building tension and building pressure like I should, because I was shooting real lazy back tension and I was like not doing that. So it was kind of an eye opener for me for sure. And then Madison just went home and had the same thing. And I'm like, how do we do this? Like, how did we just learn to like manipulate the system and like relax or do different things without like really doing the essential basics of back tension? But I think there's more people doing that than we realize, having done this and hearing the feedback from people who've now went and tested it. I think that's kind of a unanimous thing. So food for thought. If you guys have one laying around, shoot it and see if you're honest with your pulling, because I was not. I learned a lot.
Paige, I have a question.
Shoot.
Have you,
Oh, hi.
hi,
It's you.
how are you? It is,
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm rebuilding a bow over here, but I wanted to listen in on this. Thank you for this, by the way. I think this is going to be way more valuable than a lot of people realize. Pertaining to the topic you're talking about right now, can you mix in how your holding affects how it kind of can either compound in a good way or a bad way everything you've been talking right there? So whether it's holding low or whatever, like it's easy to say that holding low when you hold low and it just sits there and doesn't move. But if you're not holding well, or your holding pattern is not erotic, that was the wrong word, erratic.
Where's your mind,
Wow.
bro?
This is a private chat, thank God.
Yeah,
It's a
that's why
party
we're
now,
doing it like
people.
this.
It's a
I
party
don't have to
now.
filter.
No, right. And so just if your whole, shut up, Donnie. If your holding pattern is erratic, how it can compound the issues you're talking about getting through that.
Yeah, so unfortunately, a lot of the target panic issues are linked to the aim. And so when it comes to executing, anyone who shot a bow will probably know this. On the days you aim great, the execution's always easier. And then all of a sudden you have a day that it doesn't aim good, and then you start executing like shit, and now you're double screwed. And so the one thing I've found, and I've known this over the years, like this is not a secret, is the days that you aim the worst, it is 100 times more important that you do everything in your power to execute the absolute best. Because even aiming bad, a lot of the times you can still shoot and score just as good as you normally do if the execution doesn't fall apart. But 9 times out of 10 on a bad aiming day, the execution falls apart. And so the reason I'm in the boat that I am right now with the hesitating and the freezing, honestly, is the bow that I was shooting, I just didn't get along with. Like it didn't aim good for me at all. And so when I first picked up the Gen 2, it was a completely different platform, different cam system, and it was erratic all over. And that made me hesitate because I did not like the sight picture that I was seeing, and it wasn't an aim that I was used to dealing with. And so that was something where I kind of got a little more hesitant, because I wasn't confident in the aim and in what I was seeing. And in my mind, like normally, let's say I float mostly around the 10, occasionally in the 9, because that's what I do on a Vegas face or, indoor round. It went from that to like red on each side, just tick, 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 like so fast and crazy. And I was like, yeah, there's no way I'm going to shoot X's if my pin's moving like that. So from an aiming standpoint, there's absolutely things you can do with your body, like simple. Gosh, it's probably been 2.5 years now, but I went and worked with that archery strong guy, and he just it was the simplest of stuff. It was literally like basic band work and like hold a broom handle, like do very simple things, but it does kind of help build strength where you need it. But honestly, just shooting more can help with that too. But obviously, part of that is trying to learn to disconnect the execution from the aim. And that is one of the hardest things to actually do. It's very easy to say, but it's absolutely a fact that whatever your normal scores are, even on bad aiming days, if you can keep the execution flowing, you'll probably be okay. And so obviously everyone's aim is different. I've definitely learned that from the seminars, watching everybody and like talking to them about their sight pictures. And so whatever yours is, I will say the better you aim a bow, the easier it is to shoot back tension. Like there were people in the seminars that I saw, and like if this is their bow, I can just see it like moving everywhere. And I'm like, they're just not stable by nature. I was like, have you tried bowling? Like maybe mini golf? Like, I don't know that archery's for you. Like some people's bodies are just more naturally stable. For the people who really truly aren't, and there's a very select few that fit into that category, I'm like, yeah, you should probably punch. Like if your bow moves that much all the time and that's the best your body's got, like if your pin's moving from blue to blue, you're not going to be good at back tension. Like, let's be honest. Like there's a time and a place for punching and that's it. But if we can get your guys' aim like halfway decent to essentially hold an area that you're okay with scoring in, or like one ring better than where the pin is moving, because that is achievable, then there's no reason that we can't shoot good back tension. And I will say that shooting that tension this weekend, actually having to hold as long as I was holding and build as much tension as I built, my bow was aiming like absolute shit. Like Greg actually sat and watched me shoot the whole first day. And it was probably one of the most painful things he's ever seen in archery because I let down sometimes 5 times an end. And I'm pretty sure he could see my bow shaking and my hand shaking from like way behind me. But shockingly enough, I just stayed with it, trusted the really crappy, terrifying float, and they still hit. And so if my pin was aiming that poorly with my hinge, I would absolutely have been freezing. It normally aims better than that with my hinge, but shooting the tension and having to build that pressure, gosh, it aimed terrible. But they still hit. And so it was that reminder of stopping the execution because you're not happy with the aim. Like if you're not happy with the aim, like Tim said, you're way better off just go, nope, like I'm going to build in, and that's going to save you more often than not. So is that kind of what you're talking about, Greg? Or are you looking for something else?
No, yeah, that's absolutely it. It's, not that we're all going to hold like, Jesse or Chance or Bodie, but the idea is just kind of being able to focus on a particular part of the story at the time. So if you are so concerned with what you're seeing, it's going to make it harder for you to work on the things you're talking about, because the things you're talking about are spot on. And I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. If you can't focus on what you're trying to focus on because of what you're seeing in your sight picture, one, it erodes your confidence, and number two, it doesn't allow you to apply the lessons or the training you're actually trying to. So that was my only point. So yeah, I just wanted you to hit on that a little bit. You nailed it.
So let's talk conscious mind real quick. I was going to try to save this until maybe some other ones, but since I know there's a lot of you that are going to Lancaster, I feel like it's not a bad thing to cover now. Like we could say this 100 times, and I feel like sometimes it just needs a few to stick. So essentially, the way that your brain works is your conscious mind can only think one thing at a time. And so if you are thinking stuff like, oh my gosh, I have to hit this arrow. Everyone's watching me. I'm so nervous. I hope I don't screw this up. I hope I don't shoot a 9. Like those are the kind of thoughts consciously that we want to try to stay away from. Like they're already setting us up for failure. And so ideally, when you're at your best, your conscious mind is just quiet and like empty. And I remember when I was a little kid and I heard some pros talking and they said that, and I was like, yeah, no, like that will never happen for my brain. There's no chance. And it did. Like after years of doing all of this stuff, it absolutely is achievable 99% of the time. The times where I'm really nervous, like really struggling from nerves still to this day, my conscious mind starts going nuts, which is where a lot of people are all the time if they haven't done a lot of mental training yet. And so essentially, the best thing we can do is some sort of a conscious mind distraction tool or technique to where it's focused on something. That way, our subconscious mind, which is what we've been working on, can just run its process, can just do its thing. Like you should be able to just set your hand grip in the bow, not, oh, is that right? Oh, how's my pressure? Is it more on the top, more on the bottom? The second you start thinking about something like that, you're a goner. And so usually, if you don't think about it, the subconscious mind knows exactly what it needs to do. Your body and muscle memory are going to do exactly what's needed. Hi, I just saw her pop in, and you're going to be fine. But if you start thinking about it, we've got a problem. So I'm going to give you a few different things that I used over the years. And in the next week before Lancaster, if you guys are going or before your next tournament, I want you to test a few different things because again, Everyone is going to be at a different spot in their mental journey and their mental ability, and everyone's brains are different. So I do not believe that there is like one thing that you have to do to make this work. So when I first started, how many of you guys were in one of my seminars? I can see a few of you from the screens. Yeah, but anybody, you can raise a hand. I told this story in the seminar, so sorry if you already heard this. It's a repeat. But I was 10 years old. I was in Vegas, absolutely choking. I had like crushed everyone locally, went to Vegas for the first time, and there was some chick who was really good. We were tied after day one. So day two, we're out there just like I'm shooting a nine, she shoots a nine. We're like imploding everywhere. And Jim Miller, who was a friend of mine from Washington, walked up. My dad was sitting behind me and he's watching me implode. And so I walked back and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I don't know. I'm shooting nines. Like I suck. I'm missing everywhere." And he was like, just sing a song." And I kind of looked at him and I was like, "What? Like, why? That's not going to help me. Like, I'm in Vegas. I'm panicking." And he's like, "Dude, what do you have to lose? You're already sucking. Like, just try it." And I was like, touche. Okay. So he just said, pick a song, go to the line, and then just sing the song over and over. If you forget where you are, just start at the chorus, go again. And I was like, all right. So I tried it. I picked a song, went to the line, did that, shot a 30. And it was like, whoa, okay. And then did it again, shot a 30, did it again, shot a 30. I ended up winning. And I probably wouldn't have won had he not said that to me and had I not done that. That same Vegas is where I bought Lanny's book. My parents bought it for me with Winning in Mind. And then I read it out loud on the way home. And then I didn't understand. I had no idea. 10-year-old me did not understand conscious mind, subconscious mind, how that worked or why that worked. It just did. And so one day later, I'm driving home from Vegas in the car reading that book, going, holy shit, like this just happened for me. Like I just experienced what this is like. So singing a song is a really, really great, powerful way, probably the most powerful way to distract your conscious mind from thinking anything else or doing anything else. Now, I'll come back to that and tell you why in a second. The next step up, I tried a phrase, and this is what Lanny had said in his book. And so I kind of stole his phrase and I said, it was like, believe in yourself, nothing but X, I can, I will. And I tried going to that and using that, and I would be okay. And then all of a sudden I would think like, yeah, no, like your pin's in the eight. Like because I was thinking in words, it was very easy for other like negative words to slip in. And so I wasn't mentally strong enough to like use that yet. Now, over time, I transitioned back to that and I could do it just fine because I had more control of my mind at that time. Then I went to like a single word, and I tried that. And sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't. Like it just depends. I think picking the right word matters too for like how you're shooting or what you're doing. But all of those are essentially just keeping your conscious mind focused on something that doesn't matter all that much, if that makes sense, to let your subconscious do what it knows what it needs to, which is how to shoot the bow, how to execute, how to aim, like all of that stuff we want built into the subconscious. Because the times that we're using our subconscious mind are when we're at our best. When we get really nervous and the conscious mind gets really loud, that's typically when we have those moments of failure. And it's because the conscious is overriding our normal program. And so the reason that I think the song works the best is because as like a fail safe, I still fall back on that to this day over the words or over the phrases, are because to think in words, you have to break the song rhythm. And because there's a rhythm and a beat that you're singing in your head, you usually will not just break the rhythm and then think something negative. Where if you're thinking in words, it's really easy for other words to slip in. So that's been my own personal journey with that. And normally when I'm shooting nowadays, especially outdoor, because I don't get nervous like that, but I'm just shooting. And when I draw back, my brain is pretty blank. If I'm having conscious thoughts, it might be like, ooh, the flag just shifted. Like I need to aim off more for the wind or something where your conscious mind is needed, right? But I'm not thinking, how much am I pushing or how much am I pulling or is my housing centered in my peep? Like all that stuff is just happening naturally. And the moments where I'm real mentally weak, like a Vegas shoot off or something like that, that's where it's like, oh, wow, this is hard. And then I fall back on that song still to this day. So that is another element I want you guys to try to practice this week and like add in, because you might find that you try a song and hate it I tried, so I picked my initial song, I'll tell you. I was 10, don't judge me, okay? It was Do You Believe in Magic by Ali and AJ from the Disney Channel, and I still sing that one to this day. I tried switching songs and I would try different ones, and I will say the rhythm of the song changes your shot timing. If you pick a really slow, sad song, not so good for your shot or your shot timing. So if you're going to try a song, pick something happy and pick something upbeat for sure, because that's going to keep like a good rhythm of your shot timing. If you're going to pick a phrase, try and time the phrase out with your shot timing, because you can use this to keep your shot timing in control as well. So I had one before where, let me grab a target. Sweatpants. You guys aren't supposed to see me. It'd be on a 5 spot, but I would like come down and I would say find the 4, because this would be the 4, find the 5, find the X, find the center of the X, and that's about the time that my shot should fire. So I tried that for a while to like hold myself accountable to the letdowns. And then I would never let down. And I would just say, find the center of the X, find the center of the X, find the center of the X. And then I would miss. And I was like, God, I should have let down. So then I added, find the center of the X, let down. Then I would just go let down, let down, let down, let down, and still shoot it and whiff and go, why did I not let down? And so when I was training myself from the letdown perspective, I did use that. And I went to the words and I used that as part of my like repetitive thing that I was consciously thinking. And then I got to where when I got to the letdown portion, I actually let down. And that was definitely better for me than trying to force those. So you can use your conscious mind in a number of ways to help your shot timing, to like help you not be nervous. You can think positive phrases, positive words. It doesn't really matter what you choose. What matters is that what you choose works for you. And that's going to be different for everybody, and that's okay. Does anybody on here have something that you do or say already? Someone better talk, because I know you guys do. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna make someone say
Nobody
something.
wants to say what it is.
I just told you my embarrassing song. Come on.
Connor's
I
my son
commented in
Connor
the
says
chat.
that he plays several different songs in his head. But he's like, that's not one particular one. But from a mom's perspective, I have noticed if the range is playing like good upbeat music, he gets a head bob and a foot tap going, and it's a pretty successful day when you
Yep.
see that.
Yes. I would say ask him to pay attention to this. And are there times where when he's on a certain song, it scores better and flows easier? Or does it seem pretty consistent across songs? Because I would venture to say that they're not all the same, having tested that myself. And if he's used to the same
That's
few,
interesting.
yeah, if he's done the same few for a long time, it probably is fine. But if you told me, like right now, hey, go pick a random song and sing that instead, total shit show. Like it is not really ideal. And so have him test that just to make sure, because if he does notice like actually I'm better when I'm singing this one than this one, then he might want to stick with that. And so if all of them work, even better. But have him really pay attention to that just to make sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Shoot.
Okay,
Greg,
Paige,
you-
I'll tell
Also-
you one.
Go ahead, whoever.
Go ahead, Greg.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say also, Paige, remind folks that whatever you're saying or singing in your head, you know, the elephant reference we used on the podcast, where it's like the mind can only process certain things. So if I say to everybody on this call right now, don't think of an elephant. All of you thought of an elephant. So the mind, subconscious or you can't tell yourself not to focus on something, or you're going to focus on something. And so, to Paige's point, that distractive technique or that rhythm technique just needs to remain positive.
Yeah. You can't say, don't punch, don't punch, don't punch, don't punch, full draw, or all you're hearing is punch.
Hammer.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we're not Tim. We can't all get away with that. The other thing you'll notice, adding on to what Greg said, is when I'm writing these recordings, I have to be very careful. And some of it's actually challenging because I'm like, how can I word? We're so used to saying don't do this that it's like, what is the opposite of that? How do I word that positively? I can't say don't punch. I have to say, you push pull, you build tension, you add pressure to the system, you engage your back muscles. Like I have to say what you want to happen, not what you don't want to have happen. Like I can't say don't collapse. I have to say you're building tension and the natural follow through is expansion. Like it's very interesting, but I have to, and I learned this because I started doing it wrong, right? Like many years ago. The subconscious mind doesn't really hear the negative, like the don't do this, it just hears do this. And so you got to be really careful when we're doing the subconscious reprogramming that I've done that right as well. And I am, don't worry. That's why it takes me so long to write these. And then you want to make sure you're also holding that up on your end from the conscious side as well. Because if you're just saying, anytimes you guys ever had a competitor come back and say, like, oh, I just shot a fat 8 or something like that as you're like walking to the line and your brain's like, oh God, I don't want to shoot an 8. Like, don't shoot an 8. 9 times out of 10, you're shooting a friggin' 8. Like, that's how that goes. And so unfortunately, like you can't control what the people around you say, but it's like, okay, if I knew I was going to be mentally weak in that moment, that would be one where I'm like, I don't want to think about the 8. I'm just going to go back and sing my song or like repeat whatever, because it really only matters when I'm at full draw trying to actually like execute through the shot. And so it's like, okay, what can I use to not focus on whatever that negative thing was? So we do that. People do that all the time when we're on the shooting line, and it's like, oh, don't think about what they just said. And then you think about it. So those distraction techniques can help in more ways than one. Someone else was trying to talk. Why don't you have at it now?
Oh, it was me, Paige. I was just gonna make you laugh, make
Tell
everybody
me.
laugh. So when the kids, this is Carrie, by the way, when the kids were
Good to see
little and pacing in the middle of the night, there were only two songs that I knew all of the words to. One of them was Winter Wonderland, and as you can imagine, that got old really quick. And the other one is the Marine Corps hymn, because my dad made me know that song forever and ever. So it's the two songs that I still sing now to myself. And yeah, by the time I get to land and sea, usually that's about the time when my arrow is taking off. So
Perfect.
there you go.
So even using a song, I initially, when he just said sing it the whole time you're on the line, I did. Now, if I use one, I start the chorus every single time I lift to draw. I would start the chorus. So that way I have the same exact timing from the song with the rhythm and my shot timing every single time. So I know if I'm singing and I hit a part of the song that I'm not supposed to be at, it's like, huh, that went long. Now, granted, I already know, like my subconscious mind knows that it's went long even without the song, right? Like everyone, I guarantee you, has had that happen where you're aiming and like, no, it's been too long and you bail out and let down. Your mind's pretty good at telling you that. Sometimes it's just hard for us to listen. So you can use a song. Like a lot of people think you have to use words or a phrase to like keep the timing exact, but you can use a song from that way as well, 100%. A couple people in the comments, actually Carrie Christian said, she said the archery strong guy, his name's Christian. I couldn't remember. Thank you for that. That he's been really helpful for archery muscles and strength. He was helping me do shoulder stability things because my shoulder moves in the joint. And so I was dislocating when I went to him. And so he was helping me figure that out. And he was great. And then my mom actually said her song was Play That Funky Music. She used to sing that when we were at the range.
That's
And
a
I would
good
get
song.
so embarrassed. Like that song gives me nightmares from her singing it. Sorry, mom. Terrible. And then Kevin says he'll hum an Elvis song. That's pretty cool. Yeah, it doesn't matter what it is. It just matters that you know it and then it makes you feel good. And I will say it's hard now because a lot of the tournaments play music. Back when I started this 20 years ago, they didn't. And so there was never any competing music. And so whatever I sang in my head was simple. I don't know that I would pick a song nowadays, depending, because when the music's playing when you're shooting, it's if there's another song and you're trying to sing one in your head, that gets really tough. So if that's the case, it might be better with a phrase or a word or something like that. But positive, upbeat, and it can be something focused on. I used to have one that worked for years, and I just said patience and pull, patience and pull, patience and pull, like over and over. So it was two things. Um, and that worked for me. Now I'm too patient, so I probably shouldn't have said that, but it should have been like actually do something and pull, but whatever. But yeah, you want to make sure that if there is something that you're trying to work on, like you can say that too, like pick that in, like push and pull or roll. Like I know there's people shooting a hinge who are like rolling through that. You can say roll, 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 or like different things. Everyone's brain's different. And so I'm telling you, even in practice, when you go test this stuff, you're going to do a few and you're going to be like, that just feels ick. Like, ugh, it just feels bad. And then you'll do one and be like, whoa, that. Like, I like that. And so you got to test that for yourself. Like, roll through some things and just pick the one that is best for you. That's really all that matters. But that's the other side of the mental game that, like, the tapes aren't going to help you with. So there's that. Any other questions on any of that stuff? Anything like that? Or the recordings?
I use 3 words: patient, still, and quiet. So for me, it's more of a bow hunting application than it is for target archery. But um, I learned years ago that I found that you get nerves, and just like you get nerves on the line, I'm getting nerves when I see the deer or whatever situation you're in, and I was thinking about, well, what words kind of embody what I'm trying to do, and I figured that, okay, these 3 words, if I say them and start them, maybe they're really fast at first, and maybe it matches my breathing because I'm really nervous. That if I just slow it down and say them slower, it kind of becomes part of my process as I'm getting into even a shot process and executing it.
That's awesome. How many of you guys on here have listened to the bow hunting one? That one I can say has been sold the least of all of them because I can see the numbers of what's been sold. I can't see. I've got a couple screens of people, so I can't see everyone. So I'll say from a bow hunting standpoint, like I didn't pursue any of this like because of bow hunting, but when I worked on it from the target standpoint and like learned it there, when I was younger and I would bow hunt, like when I saw the deer or it was like it was time to actually make the shot, I would I would be shaking and like so nervous and my heart was like in my throat way more than it ever is for target. Like I get way like 100 times more amped hunting. And I used to be nervous before I would shoot, which is obviously not ideal. And so through the years of mental training, I still feel just as much everything essentially, but I've learned to kind of hold it off until after I shoot. And so it's like I'm so focused and like in the zone on what needs to happen. And then it's like, okay, I shoot, everything's good. And it's pretty much as soon as I shoot, it's just like this massive adrenaline dump. And so I will say like the tournament side of like working on the mental stuff absolutely carried over to the hunting side. I had never initiated this like to be a better hunter, but it did help me in that sense for sure. So like if you come at it from that angle from the start, it's absolutely going to help with that as well. Um, and I hope that I can kind of bridge this gap to more bow hunters because I would love to see more bow hunter people in here and using the program. So, if you could shoot deer and not be super shaky or super nervous and just know that you can make a good shot and then feel that, like you're obviously going to have more success than if you're like before you even try to shoot. So that's something that absolutely I've seen shift since I've been doing this stuff.
Well, I mean, Paige, Paige, not to be a Debbie Downer, but it is January. It's a middle kind of indoor season. I'll bet you if you check back July, August, it'll be inverted
Yes.
and your bow hunting ones will be crushing.
Probably. Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not listening to the bow hunting one right now. Like I'll save that one for beginning of August. So he's not wrong at all. But yeah, no, for sure. So any other questions on any of that stuff?
So I was wondering if you would make like a recording for like listening during the day without the like all of the breathing and settling down stuff.
So, okay, sorry, I said that right when we got on. So good news, I already did. Yes, a bunch of people asked for that. I listened, I went in and I edited all the recordings. So there's a body only and I faded it in and I faded it out. And there's a new feature on the website where you can do a loop. So it can just replay. So like, let's say you were driving for a commute or like practicing for an hour and you wanted to keep it playing. If you hit the save for offline, then it will give you the option to loop on or loop off. So then it will just autoplay. So I have all of those done and I sent them to Kit. They're just not quite up yet. Like he has to I've like learned the bare minimum basics. Like when you guys screw up and need a password reset or someone signs up with the wrong email, like I can go in and fix that kind of stuff. But as far as like building the website itself, that's not my job. I'm not smart at that. So I've sent him all of those bodies. And so it's done for all the current recordings. And then any of the new ones that I make, they will just go up in the first place with the sleep, awake, and a body only version and the ability to loop all of them. So it is coming. Hopefully very soon. I'll check back in with him and see when those are going to be up. But I edited them right around Christmas time. Like I was sitting there during Christmas and was like making those and then sent that over to him. So we will have it up pretty quickly. I didn't realize truthfully how many people were going to use it during daily activities because I never really did. And so I did it a lot where I just threw it on at night when I like laid down to go to sleep. So it actually surprised me how quickly and how many people asked for that. And I was like, that's really cool because I didn't personally use it that way. But yeah, I'm absolutely happy to do that. I think it's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. Any other questions? Anything else anyone wants to talk about, bring up, clear up?
I have a question talking about headphones. And sorry, I don't have a camera on this computer. Does anyone have recommendations of what headphones I use? So I do listen with my headphones when I'm going to sleep, and I will say I've never heard the end of the recording. It's really good for that relaxation. But I've got AirPods, and if I lay onto my side, they end up hurting my ears a bit. So I was wondering if anyone's got any that they use.
I use the AirPods, but they do hurt if I lay on my sides and then I wake up in the middle of the night and it's like, and they're like kind of sprawled all over the bed. I have to find them. So I don't really have any better option than that. Anybody else have
I
better
bought
ones
a
they
twenty
use?
dollar. I bought a $20 sleep mask that has like headphones incorporated, and I find that helps a lot. I
Is it
still
on
don't know if I get
Amazon?
off the beach. Yeah, it's. I think they're $20 on Amazon.
Okay. That's kind of cool. And I will say, like, I don't want people to stress where they're like, oh, if I can't use headphones, it's not working. The actual subconscious reprogramming is still working every single time. It's just the binaural beats essentially that aren't working. So I can tell you it works without them because I used it for more years without than I have with. Does it help? Yes. But if you have to, I'm not gonna lie, a lot of the times now, if I'm going to actual sleep and I'm listening, I don't actually put the headphones in. I just let it play on the nightstand. Because usually at that time I can actually be pretty relaxed. But like I used to be like, I'm gonna go sit on the couch and like relax and do this. And those were the times where I was like, no, like my brain is not shutting down. That's when the binaural beats really help me. Any other ones?
Yep. Just have a quick question. I don't know if anybody else noticed. Uh, like I'm watching through apps and watches, like for the heartbeat, like resting heartbeat or during the sleep, and how much actually during listening to the recording that the heartbeats basically in those 22 minutes or 28 minutes in video, they go basically to the resting heart rate, like to lowest one that I have during the sleep, for example. So.
That's really cool. I didn't know that. That's awesome. Now I really want to check that. I need to put my Aura ring back on so I can monitor that. That's really cool.
Yeah, it was interesting that it's really, really relaxing during the listening to the recordings.
That is awesome. Sharon asked in the comments if the music fade out is coming. Those are done as well. So I redid every single recording and made the bodies. So every single one, the sleep and the awake and the body all fade out now. And then the body also fades in. So yes, as soon as I think Kit needs to, like I said, set it up where he can get the bodies in, and then we just have to like redo all the new ones that I made and like re-upload everything into the website. So I will check in with him and see if we can get that done sooner rather than later, but they're done for sure. And sent off. It's just he's busy and he's the best, so I don't want to rush him on that because he's helped me so much already. So yeah, but it's done and it's coming for sure. And I'll post like if you guys don't already follow the account. If you're a Facebook or Instagram person, I have like a specialized account for the Insight Mental Programming. If you guys could follow along there, that'd be awesome. Some of the stuff I'm sharing on my personal page, but for updates that are more specific to the membership itself, I want to start just sharing those more on that stuff. So I'm not like spamming the rest of the membership essentially, or the rest of the people, with membership stuff. So I just want to make sure you guys don't miss things. Also, my plan was to like send you guys emails. So I was like, oh, I'll just email everybody this link. Well, I created that new email. It's like insightmp@outlook.com. And apparently they're so worried about spam that it will not let me send mass emails. It would only let me send like 20 emails in a day. So that did not work. And so that's where I got the idea to put the link in the account because I couldn't email it. And so I'll probably keep doing that. So like pay attention, because anytime I'm going to have a live, now that that's built into the account, I will just go in and update that. And then the new current link will be there with the next date and time. So if you're ever curious on like when's the next one coming, you'll be able to see that in your account. But I will also post update reminders like on the Insight social pages saying like, hey, we're going to have one at this date and this time. And like I said, I'm happy to do them more often. And the more I think we all get closer and more comfortable, you guys are going to want to talk more too, which makes this easier. But there's always going to be different topics and different things that pop up. And like I said, I don't want to just be the only one that you learn from, because my way might not be the best way for you. Like I think when we all share and interact, that's where the magic's really going to happen. So that's my hope for these. And like if I'm home and it's like, hey, I got time and I'm home this week, like I'm happy to just throw another one in and do it. Like I said, the only reason I said once a month was because I just wanted to make sure that I could for sure commit to it and like schedule something ahead of time, and not only give you a day's notice like I just did. But I wanted to really get one in before Lancaster. That way, if there was anything you guys wanted to ask or work on before that, we could cover it. So anyway, it's kind of my thought for these moving forward. Anything else you guys want to talk about? Cover questions?
I got one.
Okay.
This kind of off of the mental topic, but so at Lancaster we change target faces every 5 ends. Right now you can change it however much you want, but you have to change it every 5 ends. So what I've been working on is shooting a lot at a clean target face, because usually I'll go into the range and there's an amount of targets that are already up there that have been left there, that yeah, exactly, and then I just go to the lane and I start shooting. So now I've really been trying to work on shooting at a clean face. And here's the thing, and this happens, it happens whether you shoot in 3D or whether you shoot whatever. If you center punch the first one, you're good to go. If you go through your process and you do everything right, every arrow after that goes right in that hole. If you hit one low, say in between the X and the bottom of the 10, then every arrow goes low in that hole. So what can you do when you start with a fresh target face and you have, once you punch your first arrow, you got a big black hole down there, to stop your mind from keying on that hole? And it does it when we're shooting dots. The second day at a 3D tournament, you got a target that's got a hole that's 8 out to the left of the 12 or whatever, and you're like, okay, I want to go right to the right of that hole. Don't put it in the hole. Go to the right of the hole, and the arrow goes right in the hole. What is there any way to combat that?
If I had the perfect answer for that,
Yeah.
It would be awesome.
Yeah.
For the 3D side of it, I don't have an answer. For the target side, this sounds ridiculous and you got to really think about it, not screw up your clicks.
You're gonna move your
But
sight.
like
Yep.
it's like the example you gave, I've shot where like target 1, target 2 were good and everything on target 3 tends to be a little low. And I'll literally shoot 1, shoot 2, add 2 clicks to my sight, 3 clicks, whatever it is to put it back to the middle, shoot target 3 and then take it back out. And typically I only have to do that once or twice, and then I get the holes where they need to be, and then it's easier to focus there. 3D, it's only one arrow and the target's shot and there's nothing you can do about it. So that one, I don't know. I am also in the stage of I always shoot the hole. But indoor or at FIDA and stuff like that, like I've definitely moved my sight for certain arrows on certain targets. And I've done it from a left and right perspective as well. Like there'll be times where I have like middle, and then it's like left. And you're like, why am I all left on whatever target? And like I will literally get to that one and just go, shoot it, put it back, and then get the holes where I want them. And that tends to help it. But I honestly don't know why the heck that happens. And like if you're getting weak by arrow 3 and that's your third arrow or something, it makes sense it'd be going low. But like I have that happen and it might be target 1 or target 2 on like a 5-spot face or something. Like it is random every single. If I shot like 3 or 4 games back to back, it would be a different target every time. That was like the annoying one in a different spot. And I have yet to figure that out. Like someone asked that in a seminar actually, and I was like, yeah, I don't have the magical answer. I wish I did. If somebody does, please chime in now and help me too.
Yeah.
But I think
Okay.
that's just how it goes. I think, I don't know, but trying to cheat the system. If I think one thing I try not to do when it's a clean target and I'm like, oh my God, I have to have good holes. Because the second I try harder, it goes downhill fast. So it's like, I like, I know in the back of my mind that it's more important because I want those good holes to start, but I don't want to consciously be worried about it because what I try to tell myself, and I say this in the recordings, and I do it because it's something I've said to myself for years, is every arrow scored the same. And so I never want to think or do anything that puts more pressure on one arrow in a round over the other. Like the arrows in the first end score the same as the arrows on end 4, 5, and 6, and the same as the last end. And so when you get real nervous on one or the other, like one of those conscious mind things I've used to talk myself out of it for years was like, it scores exactly the same as all the other ones. Like, quit worrying about this one. It's no different. And so whenever we put a new target up, I like have always tried to tell myself that as well, because it's that new target. If you guys ever follow Sarah Priel, she always does that like new target face thing. She posts like what she hit on the new target face. And that's like a real thing, when you have to put the new face up. So I am very guilty of just shooting all the really old, ugly faces. And Tate was hounding me earlier this season. He's like, you have to start hanging new targets because I will impact different. If I've sighted in and I'm shooting a game on one that has like 3 games worth on it, let's say, and I put a new one up, I will impact a little bit different because it's new, because I'm aiming a little bit different. So I would really recommend practicing that way as well. Like Tim, that's an awesome thing to practice because most of us don't do that enough. And yes, you got to buy targets more often, but it's absolutely worth it. Especially like you said at Lancaster and Vegas in the pro class, they make us, or not pro, I guess it's championship there, but they make us switch at the half. USA Archery, I think, makes you switch every 5. So it's like that's coming more and more. So that means it's something that we need to practice for sure. Also, top to bottom. If you guys aren't doing that, let me lean this way. Can you see those? So what I do is one time I'll shoot top and then bottom, and the next end I shoot bottom and then top and then top and then bottom. So when I practice, I shoot 10 arrow ends and I on the 5 spots. If you guys don't want to do that, do just 2 Vegas faces then. So it's at least 6 arrows. But I don't ever want to have to worry about the switch. And if I practice that way, then I've done the switch so many times through practice that it's not like a mental holdup when I get to that point in a tournament.
Tim, thank you for bringing that up. That gave us some insight and some training stuff that we can work on here at home. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just glad I'm not the only one that shoots arrows in bad holes.
Nope, I think that's human nature. The number of heads that just shook, that was really funny.
Okay,
Yep, that was a general consensus for sure.
good to know.
Anybody else? Anything?
This is back to the body recordings, because we missed that part. So are you gonna make like it longer?
So the body info for whatever that is still the same, but it will have the ability to hit loop. So you're going to get the same info, but because let's say you're shooting and it's 12 minutes of body, that you can hit loop, and so the body will just replay indefinitely, essentially until you stop it. So that way it doesn't just run out and quit and you have to go back and hit play every single time. So that's in there now. Let me see if I can show you guys. I don't know how clear my camera's loading, but I'll just see if I can show you. I'll log in and click one for those of you who haven't seen that yet. So when I get into the recording, I have already where's my screen? This is really hard. So I've already hit save for offline. So I'm in that recording, and right below it, it'll say save for offline. Because I've hit that little black box right there says loop on, or I can tap it and then it says loop off. And see how it went white and then loop on and it goes black. So whenever the loop is on, it's just going to auto replay. So that is already built into the system for the ones that are in, but the body onlys have not been put up yet. And then for the ones that initially who said that he was listening to the awake when he sleeps, so there's a little toggle right here. And if you touch that toggle, then it goes to the other version. So there's two versions. There is a sleep version and an awake version that you can toggle between. I have a feeling, I don't know how Kit's going to build it in. Like, I doubt it's going to be a triple toggle. You know what I mean? Like, the body will probably just be a separate piece there. I don't know. That's the computer. He's the expert on that. Like, whatever's going to work best and function best, I guarantee will be what he does. And sometimes I'll be like, can we do this? And he's just like, no, like, it won't work like that, but we can do it like this. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I loved his little toggle thing, because instead of you guys having like a really cluttered page of all the options, like what recording do I want and clicking the wrong one, the toggle kind of cleaned it up. So he built some really cool stuff in there. I felt horrible. Like the saving it for offline thing was important to me because I grew up out of town without internet. Like, we had dial up my whole life. And if you don't know what that is, then you're clearly too young. But that's a sound that's engraved in anyone's
a
brain who
rotary
had
phone?
dial up. Yeah, I just nightmares with that sound. And so I did not want it to be limited to where you could only use it when you had service. And I use it so much when I'm flying. Every single time I'm on a plane, I am listening to that. And so I actually love that we have the loop thing, because me having it in my phone, I had no way to loop it before. So I'd like play it on a plane, I'd fall asleep, I'd wake up, I'd hit play again. But like, I wish I had had the ability to loop it also. So that was actually helpful, because I'm now using the ones you guys are using instead of my own, because mine's not in the system. And that way I can do the loop feature. And so the save for offline was so complex. Like, he had to write code and like build a whole thing. And it was like insane what he had to do to actually make that work. Like, that probably set us back a month to make it work. But it was so important to me that you guys could use it in that way and not have to like use all the data or internet or whatever to make it work. So I'm really thankful that he figured it out. So anyway, like I said, I'm not smart enough to put the body in, but as soon as he gets that up, then they're done and it'll be there pretty quick. Just so you guys know, a little sneak peek onto what I'm working on right now. So the first one I'm tackling is a general indoor. Just covers a lot of the different things that are elements of indoor, like having people next to you on the line and a shot clock and stuff like that maybe doesn't play into any of the other ones that are on there yet. So I'm having a general indoor one, and then I have a general Vegas one. So it's more specific to things at Vegas, like archers. This is your first scoring in, like when they announce that in your range, when your heart's in your throat. I have a Shoot a Vegas 300 one, and so that will probably be the first score one I launch, but I will keep other score ones coming, like for different rounds and stuff like that. And then I have a barebow one that I'm working on. I'm further along on the barebow one than the recurve one, and then I have a recurve one I'm working on as well. And also a general confidence and self-image that has nothing to do with archery. That was one of the most heavily requested things. And I think that's really cool. So I was like, yeah, of course we can do that. So I'm working on that as well. So my goal was to try and get a decent size of those, a decent amount of those like recorded before I left for Lancaster so we could get them up like ASAP. I'm still on track for that, but I am very OCD when it comes to writing them. Like Greg said earlier when he was like, you can't say don't do this. I don't want to just quick throw something together because I feel like I have to and then get it out. Like, what I've found is that each day I look at it, I catch different things that I'm like, oh, I could actually word this. A lot of the times, if you've noticed, I say the same thing multiple different ways in the body. And saying it one way might resonate with Tim and another way with me and another way with Greg and another way with Carrie. And so it's important that if there are multiple ways to word something, the more I put in there, the better it's going to stick. And the more people it's going to work for from a strong perspective. And so writing them, it's not just throwing stuff together. It's how can I make this as good as I can with all the details worded every way possible to like really have the most impact. And so it takes me more time. Like, jotting them down initially, very quick and easy, but like doing the final editing and me going, yes, I'm checking this off, like I approve to record it. I look at it like 10 times, like 10 days in a row and like make those final adjustments. So a couple of those I'm on to the final adjustment stages, but I just want to make sure that they are like as good as I can make them for you guys with as many details as I can put in. One thing you'll notice in this program, like I'm not here claiming, oh, I'm going to fix your shot or like I'm going to fix your form or I'm going to fix, like I'm happy like because we have this membership and the ability to do these, the sky's the limit. Like we can do so many things and have any discussions that you guys want to have. And we've got the video capability. Like I don't care what we do, but from the programming perspective, it isn't something where we're trying to fix that type stuff with the recordings. And so also I try to write them as detailed as possible to benefit you, but not too detailed to where if someone's doing something different, it's one of those things where their brain goes, oh, that's not how I do it, if that makes sense. That's one of the more challenging parts as well that people probably wouldn't think about. So it's like all the detail, but not conflicting detail, essentially. And so anyway, that's why something as simple as the target panic one, they're almost identical, except the one with the trigger and the thumb talks about like setting a finger on the trigger. And a lot of people who have target panic can't. You're like, set your finger on the trigger. And it's like, and they literally can't because they're just so used to slapping it like they never set it on. And I was like, no, that is a very important thing for someone shooting a thumb or a trigger, but obviously we don't need that in the hinge one. So like that recording is almost identical with just a couple little parts in there different. So I don't mind having ones that are very similar with just minor differences to like cater to different issues or certain things. That would be example A. But yeah, the more detail, it's definitely better. And you guys will see once the indoor one launches, like there's a lot more indoor specific stuff. Like Tate last night, 2 nights ago, was like, write a lot in there about the clock. He's like, so many people stress about the clock and the time. And so I have a whole bunch in there where it's like, you see the clock, but you're still calm and you're confident. Like, you know, you have the time to shoot your arrows. Like, the clock is just there to keep you on track, but like you are aware of it without, you know, while still staying focused and positive, because you can't say without stressing or your brain just hears stressing. So there's a lot of like different things in there than that's in any of them so far. So that's kind of just a little glimpse into what I'm working on, what I've been doing all week, and building a new recording studio so that way they sound clean and crisp here at the new house. So anyway, that's what I've been doing on my end. Any other questions?
I had a question.
Um,
Go ahead.
so you're talking about all these different ones. I was wondering about like switching between bows and like switching between indoor and 3D and like if you had anything on that kind of stuff.
Not yet. Let me write that down. Ideally, I have a little note that is, where is it? I have one that says Insight Fixes like website, and then it has like all the different website updates. But then I also have one that is ideas for new recordings. So let me go to that and then add that. Ideally, that's one of those things where here's how I mentally approach it. And just by listening to any of the recordings, hopefully you guys are going to help build this in too. But a lot of people have this belief that they have to shoot the bow, shoot it well, shoot these scores, know that it works, and then they build the confidence in themselves with that equipment that they feel like they can go perform. Ideally, and this is how like there's a very select few of us in the whole world that actually think like this. Chris Schaff would be another one that was just like a natural at this. We just have the confidence in us. I know how to shoot a bow. Like I can grab any bow and shoot it and make it work and do what I need to do to make it work. Sometimes will it be harder and I have to be better at my job? Yeah. Like sometimes does the bow make my job easier? Absolutely. But I've never been someone who had to like shoot the scores and like do whatever to believe that I could achieve something with a new setup or with a new bow. And so I think that comes from the years of doing this stuff where it's like I just built the belief in myself so strong that it was like I just know I'll do whatever it takes. And then you do that enough times that you start to have that belief in yourself. in my opinion, that's the best way that you could be, because we're the only factor we can control. And don't get me wrong, there's plenty of times I go to tournaments and one bow is better than another, or like it's snowy outside and you're not ready for ASA, but here you are in ASA. Instead of saying, I'm not ready and I haven't shot ASA, like you're already talking yourself out of it. So if it's like, I'm good, I know how to shoot a bow, it's fine. If I have to rise to the occasion and make better shots, I just will, and I'll make it work. And so I think that takes a lot of that stress off. And that's not an overnight thing, right? Like that takes time. But using the recordings to like build the true confidence in yourself, I think does help carry over to like having that mindset. So um think about it for me more, like what it is that you would want to hear. So this is what I've been telling people, and this goes for any of you. If you guys have any ideas on specific recordings that you want, the body needs to at least be a few minutes long or more, right? And so write down some ideas and like flesh it out on what you want to hear or what your weak points are. And then I can reverse that and word it to the positive, right? Um, on how to make it into a recording. Because if you can, and we can flesh that out, I know that's an issue that people have. Like, I'm absolutely happy to do it. But I think what's really cool is being able to put heads together. Let me write that down real quick, because something that's my problems, like I know I can word that and put that in there totally fine, but there might be something that I never even thought of that would help you. And so just know that I am absolutely open to like all of the different suggestions. And that's why when I say I'm working on a barebow recording, like the people from the barebow project reached out, and so I'm going to be in communication with them because I want the wording and the thought process and like how it works for them, because the more people I can piece that together, it just gives me more ways to word stuff, if that makes sense, which makes the recordings that much better and stronger for you guys. So if there's anything like that and you guys are like, hey, this is a holdup I have, can we somehow get this into a recording somewhere? Like, just let me know. Like, I'm happy to do that. So I want you on that recording to like write me a little note and then just send it to me. Here's the other thing. My inboxes, like my personal inboxes on socials, are like, you don't want to look in there. It's terrifying. So I keep up better on Instagram, but to ensure that I'm going to see it, if you guys message the Insight Mental Programming pages, they're getting so many less messages, and I check those like maybe twice a week, that I'm going to see it. Like that is a guaranteed way to like get a hold of me faster. So if you can write down like what your mental holdups are with switching equipment, or issues that you've experienced, or things that you would love to hear to make that easier and better, shoot me that note over, and then I'll start writing some things down. And if we can get enough info in there to like actually make one and flesh it out, I'm absolutely happy to. Someone else was going to say something before.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about shoot offs, and I had the issue where I go through qualification just fine, and there's no execution issues, and I'll get through the first couple ends of the shoot off fine, but it's that final end where I have the opportunity to win or to advance that really just falls apart. And I mean, earlier this week I had a shoot off for a league, and I was shooting off for first place, and for some reason, second arrow just I couldn't execute and pulled a 7, which I never do. So I just wanted to kind of pick your brain.
So shoot offs are something that I'm absolutely going to have recording specific for that. And I've never even made that before for myself, and I should have. If you guys watched my shoot off at the Rumble this weekend, like I was all good and all fine. And then that last arrow, the second end, I couldn't get that stupid tension off, and I like let down, and I was gassed. Like I was already shaking and tired, and drew the next one back, and it still didn't want to go, but it was under 30 seconds. So I had to shoot it. And like my freaking pin was like all over the 9. It was so bad, and it fired, and I shot a fat 9, and I was like, cool, shocker. But I feel like everyone has a little bit of those like mental holdups because the nerves are higher. And so anything we can do to like keep the nerves at bay essentially, or like hold them off until after, are going to help. But I definitely have on the plans to do some shoot off specific stuff. So I will probably do some that are more like Vegas, where there's multiple type shooters in one. I also know I will make one for alternating finals, which Lancaster's like that, but so is all the USA Archery and World Archery finals. Now, I know that those a lot of times will apply to less people, right? So that's why I was like, oh, I need the general indoor and I need, the ones that are more for everybody first. But and ASA shoot downs as well. Like I know there's not as many people that need that, but it really sucks if you crush it on the round and then you get out there and implode when it matters most. And so I absolutely have plans to do some targeted stuff for that as well. And I mean, I've shot a lot of shoot offs in my life, and I'd like to say that they get easier, but you never really know until you're out there. Like sometimes I go out there and like it's just so easy and like so good. And then sometimes it's just like, wow, this is so hard. And the hard part is you don't get to practice that all that much, right? Because you're only there maybe a few times a year or once a year or sometimes even less. And so that's one of those things where using like a subconscious reprogramming would really help build that up because it's not something we get to practice all the time. So that's another beauty. Visualization is great too. Like essentially using this is like using visualization, but like you could visualize yourself in the different shoot off situations. Visualization is accessing the subconscious mind, just like these recordings. That's why you can visualize things that you haven't achieved yet, like you have. And it basically is helping rebuild that new comfort zone as well. Doesn't work quite as fast. It's not quite as powerful, but it is a great another tool that you guys could use on top of that if you want, like in the meantime. And I did tons of that over the years. And so, visualizing yourself in those situations helps your mind be prepared for them when you're there, just like listening to those situations in the recording helps as well. So that's just another thing you could tack on. Yep,
Hello,
go Greg.
Paige.
I see you.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
What about kind of the opposite of that, where you're kind of iffy during the competition, trying to get to the shoot off, and once you're in the shoot off, you shoot like really good.
That's amazing. Can you teach me? No. That's a good thing to have. I would say that's more of a focus thing. And so that is the recordings that are already out there are going to help you stay more focused and more like into the round that you're currently shooting. And so a lot of those lines that talk about like every arrow matters the same, like you are focused on every arrow, like each arrow gets the same focus and same determination. There's a lot of those type lines in there, and that's going to really help that translate over. I do that with practice. Like I practice pathetic. Like look at all the random holes in those targets behind me. They're not all from moving sights and stuff. Like I practice horrific and then they say go and it typically does get better. And so I just don't care enough in practice and I shoot shots I wouldn't normally shoot and I'm lazy. So that kind of, I'm not saying you're lazy, but that kind of sounds like what you're doing, where when you really have the pressure on, you're like giving it your all. And so what we want to do is try and work that desire to give it your all from the start. Because essentially, you should probably be able to win it without a shoot off if you can step in and do that, right? So that's just it's a focus thing. But a lot of that is already in the recordings that are out. So that should help you there. But I don't have something that's shoot off specific. So that one is to come. Go ahead, Greg.
All right. One thing that I've always found is like, if your first tournament of the year is Vegas, you're screwed. And so talk a little bit, Paige, about the importance. And this is one thing that I've witnessed. Well, I did it too, but one thing that I really give Paige credit for is nothing prepares you to do it like doing it. And so maybe talk a little bit about the importance of hitting as many local and regional tournaments as you can to kind of work through some of that stuff before you go to a nationals. So that aspect of it, Paige, of getting out and doing it when it might not be as important. And then also, if you could discuss with your folks here, the nature of thinking it's your equipment being dialed at home, and then learning the difference between a home equipment tune, releases, whatever, and a tournament.
Yeah. So starting where he said there, like I could pick up any bow in the house that's hanging over there right now and go shoot at like probably even at Tate's draw length and go shoot 300s with it, pretty decent X counts. Would that work for me in a tournament? No, it wouldn't. And so the one thing that I've found is I can think that I have the most perfect setup ever and I have all the confidence in the world, and then I go to a tournament and very rarely it could be better. 9 times out of 10 it's like, oh wow, all these other issues show up. So I'll tell you, Iowa was my first one of the year. Thought my bow was set up pretty good. I got to Iowa and I walked off the first end and I said, my draw length is at least a full twist and the cable's too long. And my peep sight is too high. I could have shot for 2 more months at home and I wouldn't have figured that out. And I shot 5 scoring arrows in a tournament and instantly was like, I have to fix this. And so I can't stress enough how important it is to just put yourself in those pressure situations more often. And you might say, it's just a local tournament. It's not really pressure. It is significantly more pressure than shooting alone by yourself, because just that little bit of extra push is going to make a difference and really like help you flesh out those issues. And so that's something that, like, I had 1 weekend off this whole fall. It was the first weekend of December. And I was like, I'm going to use this weekend to work on my indoor bow. And instead, I drove up to Bend, Oregon and just like winged. And I had shot 1 day. I'd taken 2.5 months off. I shot 1 day and then just drove to Bend, knowing I was probably going to suck and it wasn't going to be good. But I would grow and learn and improve and fine tune things so much faster in that 1 weekend at that tournament than I would even if I shot 200 arrows a day at home. And when I was younger, I did not practice. I'm not telling you not to practice, you should practice, but I shot tournaments every single weekend. Like, my family went to a tournament every single weekend, almost of the entire year. And I actually think that's why I ended up where I did, like numerous reasons, but that definitely played into it. So I'll hear people that are like, oh, I'm just not quite ready to go to Lancaster, or I'm not ready to go shoot league. And it's like, yes, you are. Like, you're never going to feel ready. And no matter how much time you put in at home, you still probably aren't going to be ready, because it's going to be different when you get there. So put yourselves in those situations as much as you can. Go to every league, like go to every local tournament that you can. And that's where you can really fine tune stuff in. So when you do have to go to those bigger tournaments where you're spending more time, more money, there's more people watching, pressure, all those things, that you're actually ready, that you're more tuned in. There's a reason that when the indoor season first starts, you see, and outdoor, the scores tend to be lower. You see people make mistakes that they usually don't make later in the year, because we are all still working through that as well. So that's absolutely common, but the more you do quicker, all the local stuff. I have a weekend off this weekend because I didn't go to Neem, and I'm going to a local tournament on Sunday and shooting in down by Sacramento. So it's like I've had 2 weekends off now, and both of them I'm going to a local tournament, because I absolutely know the value in that it will make me better come Lancaster. So there's the first part of his question. What the heck was your second part, Greg? I'm tired. Look, I'm out of caffeine anymore.
Yeah, it was just the importance of shooting local and regional tournaments before just jumping to a nationals, because the getting some of those bugs worked out, not just the equipment, but between the ears. So shooting, like, look, if Vegas is your only tournament, that's all you go to, that's cool. But I don't care who you are, not even Paige. If Paige shows up to Vegas as her very first indoor shoot of the year, she's not winning.
I'm done for. Yeah, it's going to be
Right.
bad.
So, yeah. So just talk about not just working out the equipment bugs, which you hit on really good, but mentally getting into the shooting for score zone.
Yeah, the more you do it, the easier that's going to get. The year I finally won Vegas, I shot every single indoor World Cup that year, and Iowa Pro-Am and Lancaster and NFA Internationals. Like, I shot truly every single big indoor tournament that I could shoot before Vegas, and then went in and won Vegas and Indoor World Series in the same weekend. And it freaking helped me. Like at the mental person that I was at the beginning of that string, by the time Vegas rolled around, it was like I was so confident and comfortable, not just in the equipment and the setup and the draw length, but in myself and my ability. I had done it time and time again, proving to myself I knew I was ready. And that does make it easier. That's actually when I made my first indoor specific recording. And that was also the year that I finally won Vegas as well and got better. So that was the moment that I went, I know I'm going to make this a business, because I just finally realized how much this can actually help and so fast. And so, yeah, that was kind of crazy. But just like physical, the more you do it, the better your mental's going to get. And so push yourself any chance that you can get. Tate and I just practicing at home, we'll be shooting and it's like, want to go closest to centers? And he's like, yeah. And so we'll score whole Vegas games, but we'll alternate shooting arrows, or we'll shoot that arrow at the same time. And we're doing a win or a loss every single arrow, like closest to center. Something as simple as that, where it just adds that little bit more like, oh, I have to do this. can help also. So I'm constantly like trying to do that. If you have a friend, like FaceTime and shoot around against each other, like shoot matches against each other. I used to do that with people a ton back in the day. And like all of those things can help equipment and your mind. And honestly, the more you do all of it, the better it's going to be. So don't be one of those hermit people that hides out at home, like hoping for everything to like magically come together, because it won't. Like just get out there and fail a few times, and you learn when you fail. Like that's when you're going to grow. That's when it's going to get better, and you're going to come back better and stronger every single time. And then don't be scared of that. We all go through it every single year.
So like talking about going to all these tournaments and like how sometimes you show up and you feel like you need to like change your draw length or something. And like what's like sometimes you go to a tournament and you have to like go change your draw length and then you feel like 10 times better. Even if
I
it didn't
have
need anything.
Yes, I've had that happen. I mean, there's times where I've said, I think I need to change it, and you change it, and you're like, no, that's worse. Or no, that's better. And so I will say, I don't like to promote making changes to equipment unless you know what you're doing or why. Like, I have seen way too many people use equipment fixes, which they actually need a mental fix, and they just swap their equipment, hoping like this will be the magic that makes me better. Well, usually it's like you're not better because of your mind. Like if your bow was shooting great at home and then you imploded a tournament, great at home, imploded a tournament, great at home, imploded a tournament. At the beginning, that might be a little bit of equipment, but part of that battle is being honest with yourself and saying, okay, what part of that is my equipment versus what part of that is my mental game? So the general rule that I give everyone for mental game is if your tournament scores are not matching your practice scores, that's your mental game. Like we want to get everybody to the point that the shooting ability you have in practice is that you can match that in a tournament and your mind's not holding you back. And so when I make an equipment change, it's hard to explain to people who are newer or who like haven't got there yet, but it's like I know exactly because I've done it so much, like what my body needs to make. And usually it's something because it's either not aiming quite good and I'm making a small change to try and improve the aim. So for example, I was there and I had a little bit of dip. Okay. To fix that, I could have added weight to the back, took weight off the front, raised my back bar up. I could potentially try draw length. I knew for me and my bow, if I just sped the timing up a half twist, and for that bow it was top ahead, the other one's is bottom ahead, and make it hit a little faster, I pull in a little harder, and the way that that does that, it lifts that bow up and the dip is gone. Like I didn't just randomly start guessing, because I've done it at home and because I put the time in learning my equipment. When I make an equipment change at a tournament, it's because I know I need it and I know that's what's going to work best. And then if it doesn't, then I'm happy to put it back. But I will say I shoot with someone often who it's absolutely her mind. Like that's the issue. And that it's been like years of excuses of like, oh, I shot my strings out. And I'm like, no, you didn't. Like what? We're like, oh, it's because I had black limbs on my bow. And if I had white limbs, it would be better because the black absorbed more heat. Like no, like that type
Wow.
stuff. I'm like, no, your mind just sucks. Like, work on your mental game. That is your problem. It's not your equipment at that point. But when you're first starting a season and you're like fine tuning in P-pied or D-loop length versus draw length and that kind of stuff, like, yes, there's probably some changes that need to be made. So half that battle is being honest with yourself on, is it actually the you and the equipment, or is it actually your mind? And then putting effort into the right places. Now, I'm going to give all of you credit because if you're sitting here right now, that means you care and you're already working on your mind, and that side of it's going to keep getting better and better. And especially with these discussions, like as we keep doing this stuff, like we're going to plug in even more gaps, and it's going to be awesome for equipment and your mind and form and all the things. But I would say that's like expert level archery when you can really quickly fine tune stuff. And let me just add one last thing. When I say draw length, I don't mean, oh, we're moving it a half inch. Like I will go put a half twist in both cables. Most people, I could just take your bow and do that and they wouldn't even know it was moved. So when I say it's like a tiny adjustment, it is a tiny adjustment. Like the average person probably wouldn't even feel it. And it's not that I feel it so much as I see it change the aim. And so I'm making like small adjustments off of that. Or maybe I'm pulling and I'm expanding and I feel like I'm out of room. If I barely shorten it, it gives me that little bit shorter draw length. So I have a little bit more control and a little bit more room to build as I execute. So I don't feel like I'm here. I feel like I'm here, if that makes sense. And a tiny little bit goes a long way. So it's more educated decisions. And I encourage you guys to really learn your equipment to be able to make the right decisions in the moment for sure. Takes time, but it's totally doable.
All right, Paige, one last question and I'll quit bugging everybody. Do you plan on making a video, a recording, or can you help the group? I think a recording would be appropriate, but on managing expectations. Because I think managing expectations is a big thing. Because I've seen a lot of people. You see, I mean, like, look, before Vegas, there's going to be 500 people shooting 30Xs on Facebook every day, and then you're going to get there. There's going to be 5, and those other 495 are going to be like going, I don't know what happened. Well, number one, you're not going to shoot a 30X in Vegas, bro. It's just you're not that guy. You're not him. And so I think if you, and I don't know how you would do it,
I
but
was just
I
going to
think
say that's going to be the hardest one to flesh out ever because you're essentially saying prepare for bad, but I don't know how to write that in a positive way. I'm challenging you if you want that to help me start to flesh it out because I'll do anything, but
yeah. Well,
that's even from a conscious thing. Just he's right. Like,
yeah, I
listen
mean,
to him.
I don't think it's going to be that difficult. I just think you just need to know your role. So a recording on the fact that you're not competing against Bodie, you're competing against yourself. So if you manage expectations and don't allow outside influences, I'm not going to speak in a sexy voice and do all that kind of cool stuff like Paige does, but if you just remember you're shooting against you and then your score goes against somebody else, but if you manage expectations and don't, if you're a male pro and you walk in and you're like, oh yeah, there's Bodie and Matthias, my competition. No, they're not. No, they're not. If you're a woman and you walk in for the most part and you go, oh, hey, there's Paige. That's my competition. No, it's not. So I think the recording would be more along the lines of focusing on self and not allowing outside influences to change your expectation.
I will tell you that I actually have a bunch on that in that indoor recording.
Okay.
That's in there already. So that's good. But I think we could probably flesh out an individual one on that as well. One thing I want to say with this too, and again, I don't know who's on here and how much they've used it or how much they've listened, or if any of the people that have messaged me with success stories yet are on here. If you are, we're getting close to probably wrapping this up, and I might let a few of you kind of share because I want to keep everybody motivated and listening. Like I know if you guys keep listening to these recordings that they're going to help. But I want to talk about real quick managing expectations with this. Like, you're not going to go listen to this for 1 week and then go shoot 30Xs. Like I said, this is not something that just auto gives you the ability to shoot things that you aren't like, you don't get to never practice and just expect to never miss, right? This is essentially to help, like I said, the building blocks and to stop those mental limits that we put on ourselves to help build your confidence and your self-image, because that's something that's really, really hard to do. Like if I said, fix your self-image, most people have no idea where to start. Like we can use this to do that. And so it's giving you the foundation that you need to succeed, and it's taking from the upper side all of those limits that you put on yourself away so you can achieve what you need. But I feel like I haven't actually had this feedback yet, but I know it's going to happen where people are going to be like, man, I listened for a week or 2 weeks and then I went to a tournament and it wasn't better. And I'm like, yeah, like how'd you shoot? And they're like, well, I shot the same as I shot in practice. And I'm like, that's a win. Like that's a goal. Like if you're not doing worse, like that's good. Jacob MacArthur, I was talking to Grady the other day and he was telling me they shot a local tournament and he like shot one and shot a 9. Then we shot the Montana Open and he shot really well there, but he missed in the last end and shot a 9. And I'm just outing him because I know him, so I think I can. Then we go to the Rushmore Rumble and it was another weekend of listening and he actually shot a 900 with like 83 X's, I think. And so in 3 weeks time, he went from good but failing to better but still failing to like, holy shit, he just did his job. And now it all actually came together. And so it's not for certain people, it can be huge changes. I think one of the ones that had like a 9-point PB increase is on here or was on here. Yeah, he's here if he wants to speak up. Because there's been different people message me with different things, but I just don't want you guys to also have unrealistic expectations with this. So you listen 4 times and all of a sudden you're Matthias. Like, that's not it. Like, I can promise you if you listen that it is going to help those building blocks and those gaps to help you achieve, all those different steps along the way. But I just want you to be realistic and listening to this as well. Like, I'm never going to lie to you guys or market this as something that it's not. So I hope that you can trust that as well. Like, I want to make sure that we're on the same page too. But I've seen it turn me from a pretty shitty choking indoor archer to a Vegas champ in 30 days. And that's no lie. So like, I know that when you have gaps that need to be filled in, that this can do it and it can do it quickly. But we've got to be listening to the right recordings and doing the right things. And I was also practicing making sure I still had a decent shot through all of that as well. So I was doing both the physical and the mental side.
So I was listening to your Instagram posts about pulling out the resistance release and working through that to get your form back in, the proper, because you weren't you told yourself that you were being lazy on the
I was.
hinge. Yeah. So have you thought about when you make a mistake, you make that one bad shot, how to recover from that and how to get not only your mental side but even your physical side, because you shoot that 9 that drops you down from a potential 900 to an 899, and how to recover from that.
So I would love to hear some other people's thoughts on what they would need to hear to be good at that. Here's my issue. I've done mental work for so many years that some of the stuff, like a question like that, it's hard for me to think back on like, what did I need when I first started? And let me just give you an example so this makes sense. But like,
Yeah.
last year I was shooting the Rushmore Rumble. I was testing a new release. The release malfunctioned and I shot the floor and like hit myself in the face. And I went, well, that freaking sucks. And I loaded the next arrow. And that was the only thing I missed the whole weekend.
Yep.
And like 2 weeks ago at the Montana Open, it was the first time I shot attention. And I had one where I went to let down. I didn't put my thumb on it because I'm not used to that. And I shot like halfway drawn and shot a 7. Should have shot a miss. And I was like, well, that was stupid. And I drew it back and I never missed. That was the only arrow I missed the whole weekend. So I'm just going to say, like, I'm already kind of good at that, but I got there without doing a lot of work for it, if that makes sense. And so I'm actually not 100% sure, but essentially I have logical talk, conscious logical talk with myself
Yep.
all the time. And I just tell myself, okay, I just effed that up. Like, I shot a 9, or my weekend's done, or I just shot a 0. That's embarrassing, or that hurt my face, like whatever it is that happened. But if you're still, Greg's laughing because I was in that very garage he's standing in like 3 weeks ago and I hit myself in the face like a whole bunch of times and I broke my bow and my cam and we had fun. I'll out myself.
I wasn't going to say anything.
I filmed a video putting the new cam on, and so that's going to be the first like only video like that goes up for you guys, where it's like secret content that I can't normally post. So you will see the aftermath of that. But I have stuff go wrong all the time, and I just logically tell myself, like, if I stay mad about it, it's only getting worse. Like, it already sucks that I screwed up whatever it is. So if you get mad or if you mentally fall apart, you're going to suck even more. So just don't. Like, and so I have a hard time because I'm at a mental place, because I've done this for so many years, that I can just say that to myself and go, okay, and just move on. Obviously, I think it's because of the years of mental work, right? That makes it easier for me to do that where other people can't. So I can already tell you that like just listening to any of these recordings and like doing that is going to help you build along that road because it's done that for me. But in the meantime, take a second. Like anytime that happens, if it's like a 20-second alternating and there's no seconds, well, then you're just screwed. But most of the time, you can stop and take a deep breath or two and like have a little mental conversation where you're like, that sucks. That's no fun. I'm embarrassed. That hurt. Whatever. Take a breath and be like, well, F it. On to the next one. Can't fix it now. Like it's already done. Because that's the reality of it. Like we already shot that arrow. The only thing I can control is the next one in my bow, which the indoor one has a lot of stuff about that as well. And so it's like you can only control the arrow that's in your bow. Like that's what your focus is, not before, not after. So that's in that one too. But I've I've been good at that part for like a very long time. And that is something that a lot of people struggle with. So I would really like in almost all of the recordings to start adding in like the new ones that are coming, adding in like elements for that. So again, I'm writing notes as you guys are saying this stuff. And if you want to flesh something out and write me a little note on like hearing this or not thinking this way or something positive or negative, I don't care. Like I said, I can reword it. That would help you, like send it over to me. I'm happy to try to add, even if it's 1 or 2 liners that I can add into each recording, like moving forward. Because there's a lot of stuff where you're going to see there's overlap like within the recordings, but that's the stuff that's so important that I want to make sure it's there. So if somebody only bought that one, that they're still getting like some of those key things, and then each ones are going to have extras, right, based off whatever the topic is. So I think that is a good enough point that deserves to be a key point in the recordings moving forward, because I know like 99.9% of people struggle with that for sure.
Well, and even though archery is also a physical sport, it's, I would say, probably 70 to 75% of it's mental. So when you make that mistake, recovery from it is a lot of times the most difficult part, because you focus on, especially if you're not a type B personality, if you're a type A personality who overanalyzes, you're going, what the hell?
Yep. We say that archery at the top level is like 90% mental, because
Yeah,
all of us know how to shoot a bow. Like
yeah.
the winners and the people who've like, there are so many people I shoot with that seriously probably shoot a bow better than me. Like I can absolutely admit that. And I've beat them for years just because my head was better than them. Not because I out aimed them or out executed them, but because my head was on right. And so I can tell you the reason that people, the greats, like the names that you guys know, they're great because of what's between their ears. It's not because of how they shoot the bow. Because there is a shit ton of people out there that can shoot a bow great. It's can they do it weekend after weekend, year after year, pressure situation after pressure situation. And the mental side comes easier for some people. Like some people, it is
Yep.
a harder thing for them. So, you know, everyone's brains are different. So we have to be realistic with that as well. But a lot of the times I will say, this is another one, like I'll make a mistake and sometimes it's a mental mistake. Like the arrow I missed at the Rumble last weekend, I shot all these arrows, did the same thing. And the very last arrow, I thought to myself, which usually would be a positive, ended up being a negative. I thought to myself, don't be a sissy. Don't over, I mean, okay, I mean, in my head, it's fine. I can take it. Don't be a sissy. Like, draw the bow back and pull like a mofo. Like, don't be patient. Don't sit there. Because usually, if I'm going to miss the last arrow, it's because I'm nervous, patient, overhold. I start shaking. I'm on the verge of should I let down? Should I not? It fires and I shoot low. Like, if I'm going to miss an arrow toward the end, 9 times out of 10, it's that. So I said, don't do that. Like, draw back, be strong, and just shoot the freaking arrow. So I did that, and then I shot it high. Because what do you know? When the tension goes faster, you miss high. And afterwards, I was like, I didn't do anything wrong. But the more I thought about it since then, it's like, well, that was wrong. Like, I just got done telling you guys every arrow's the same. Don't change it. And then I thought something different on that arrow than what I thought on the other 59 that day. And what do you know? I freaking missed. I thought it from a good place, but the outcome didn't end up good. And so I think that is where it's a prime example like that. It wasn't a physical F up on my part, but it was absolutely a mental one that I'm like, okay, I'm going to learn from that. There's other times where like the release breaks, like I've had happen, and that's a physical something that I can't control. And then you still have to mentally recover from that. So I think the hardest part is whether it's a mental F up or a physical F up, it is your mind that you have to then reset to be ready for the next one. Because 9 times out of 10, your body's going to be fine. It's your mind that's going to be panicking or upset or mad or sad with what just went wrong. And so I would say taking a second is like the only quick, easy fix. Take a second, breathe, have a conversation with yourself, work it out in your head and be like, okay, I'm ready to move on. Like, let it go. Let's shoot the next one. That sucks. Here we go. And then I like reset. The other thing that I will say I've built into my shot. So I wanted to save this for another one. So I am going to repeat this on the next recording, but the subconscious mind, every subconscious process has a trigger. Whether you realize it or not, it all does. So like signing your name is a subconscious process. You signing the first letter of your name is a subconscious process. Driving turns into a subconscious process. It could be clicking the seatbelt, turning the key, clicking the start button, like doesn't matter, whatever. But there is something in there that has to happen for the subconscious process to trigger always. Like that's a science thing. So I picked what I wanted my subconscious trigger to be. And so right before I draw the bow, every single time I look at the target, like I make eye contact with the target and I go, that is my like go. I'm in the zone. I'm focused. And it's only right before I draw the bow back. I'm knocked up. I'm hooked up with my release. And then I do that. And then I shoot the arrow. The reason I didn't love when I first picked one, that it was setting my feet over the line. And you'll hear, like I put in a lot of the recordings, like you step over the line with quiet confidence. That's something that was in my recording forever. And like, I still to this day, it's the weirdest thing, but every time I step over the line and set my feet, I just hear myself in my own head, like my own voice from the recordings, like you step over the line with quiet confidence. And it's just kind of this little thing that I've heard for years, like every time I set my feet, right? I used to train where that was my subconscious trigger to like start that. But what I realized is sometimes I need to bitch at myself in my head and have those hard conversations in between arrows. And I'm not in the zone the entire time I'm on the line. And when my trigger was something that was when I started shooting on the line, if I had to have those hard conversations, it was bad. And so I switched it to where my trigger is something that is right before I draw. So I can have those difficult conversations or take a second to reset or whatever. And it's not throwing off my zone, if that makes sense. And you guys can all pick that as well. So I'm going to talk more about that in the next one. But I want y'all to pick a subconscious trigger essentially, and then start adding that into your shot. Anything else? We're kind of almost out of time here, so I'm going to have to start wrapping it up. Does anybody who's on here have anything they want to share of positives that have happened already? I know there's one of you on here that I can see that messaged me already. If he's still there, I still see him. But of success stuff that's already happened or something that you didn't achieve before that you've achieved since listening. If you're half listening, Charlie, I'm talking about you.
I never expected after 1 week the results that I would see when I went and shot that tournament. It was unbelievable the difference that it made.
So tell them what happened. Like tell them your scoring and how it all worked out.
Well, I went down and shot. I had my personal best in the first 300 round. Second 300 round, which we were scoring, X ring was 11. And I beat my personal best by 9 in the second round, and I actually shot an 8 during that, which, yay. And I ended up placing 4th in that tournament, which was a tournament that if I would have placed in the top 15, I would have been happy, and I ended up placing 4th in it. I had 2 one-arrow shoot-off and shot for the bronze medal, and I'll be honest with you, I got tired because I shot over 100 arrows that day. So that's my success story and what really made me believe in this, which I had used some of these recordings like this before to help get through target panic, and it did help, but it just blew my mind the way this one helped.
That's not
So-
back home.
What was
8.
that?
Yeah, on paper, you're what, 3D?
Say that again. I think that might have been an accidental talk there. Charlie, real quick, one thing you said to me was it kind of just felt smoother. Like it,
Hey, gentlemen, have a good evening.
Bye, kids. I gotta go.
Oh,
See you in the
okay,
morning.
bye.
Love
See
you
you,
guys. Good job, Paige.
Thanks.
All right. See ya.
Bye. We're almost done. I promise. We're gonna run out of time on this thing. But one thing that he said to me, and a lot of other people have said to me, was it's not that it felt that different. It just kind of flowed easier. Like Charlie, would you agree that that was kind of, it wasn't like some revelation of like, oh, I thought different, I felt this different. It's just kind of like it was just better.
That would have been
Would you agree?
fucking funny. It would have been like, I think we gotta get a napkin.
Hold on, let me mute.
Yeah.
Okay, I
He
gotta
does-
figure out where the fuck we gotta go here.
You gotta
Okay, I'm muting everyone. You can unmute yourself after.
Yeah.
Whoever that was Canadian for sure. I can tell by the accent. That is hilarious. So Charlie, do you want to unmute yourself if you can and answer that real quick, and then we'll hop off probably?
Yeah, it just went way smoother. It wasn't, it was, I don't know, kind of surreal the way it was. It was just my mind, everything was just smoother. It was really crazy the way it went through the day.
Yeah,
We'll try
that's
it again
that's
tomorrow and
a
see how it works.
realistic. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a realistic like expectation. It's like it's not that it feels all that different. It's just smoother. It feels just a little bit easier than like what it did before.
Exactly.
Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. All right,
Thank
guys,
you.
we're gonna have to wrap it up just because we're running out of time here. I really appreciate you guys being on here. Hopefully, you guys can see the value in doing this. Like I said, the more we start doing these, I'm really hoping that everybody wants to start sharing and talking and communicating, because I don't want it to just be me giving my insights. Like, I really truly think that we can learn more from each other, because something that worked for you might be the key that somebody else needs, or the question you asked might be something that they really need to hear. So I want this to be a community. Like, I want us to be able to lean on each other, be honest and open with one another, and like share in the successes and in the failures, and like learn to work through them and grow with them. And I'm hoping that the more that we do these, like, you guys are going to start to feel like that too, that this is a community and people that we can rely on and depend on and learn from, because everybody has their own story and their own things that they've worked through. And I think that's super important. So the last thing I want to cover real quick, with very quick answers. There's been a few things pop into the chat. So I just want to touch on that, and then we will hop off. So yes, the music fade in is coming on all of them. If someone says you reach a point where you seem like you're doing everything right, but the results just aren't reflecting that, can it be the subconscious mind, or is there a time where nothing's clicking? It can be both. Like, sometimes when you aren't doing mental work, you will go and then have a plateau. And then sometimes it can be a shorter plateau, sometimes it can be a longer plateau, and then usually you hit like that jump. When you integrate mental training into your process, more often than not, you stop the plateaus and it's more like a steady crawl. Or if you have a plateau, it's a much shorter plateau. So I teach that whenever I'm talking to coaches. I'm like, you need to be doing this with all of your kids and all of your students or whatever, because if you get them doing some sort of mental training, it's going to help them stay on that steady incline instead of flatlining and then them getting really discouraged. And so it does absolutely help with that for sure. And then they said, looking forward to the next roundtable. Awesome. Me too. Shoot off question was great. I agree. Someone said confidence and self-image helped me with shoot offs a lot. For shoot offs, like that one would be amazing. And I don't know, I will. If you guys check the chat, if you want that sleep mask thing, Katie posted that there as well, which is awesome. I'm going to go check that out too. The confidence and self-image, you'll see me sometimes on the line, and the grounder in that one is like you make a fist and then it's like you ball your fist up and then you like release it and like let all the negative stuff go. You'll see me do that where I'm like standing out there and my arm's usually down at my side. It's not like it's up here where you would see it, but I'll do that and like shake my fingers out on the line. And I'm doing that because that was one of my grounders that I'd used for when I was feeling nervous or stressed. And that's still something I use today. So like some of the initial grounders I picked because it's ones that I had used over the years. So from the shoot off standpoint, the confident self-image is a good one already. Plans for Safari or 3D? Yes, I'm working on, I don't know if I said that. I have an ASA one in the works as well. I haven't started a Safari one yet because 3D is launching first. So there's just so many topics that I'm like, oh my gosh, I I should just do this full time and I could barely keep up, right? So one last thing I want to add, someone said thanks. I appreciate you guys being here, is if you reach out to me via email or like whatever, don't email me. Like that's the worst way to ever get a hold of me ever. The quickest way is going to be like probably through that Insight private messages or these, because we're going to be keeping up on these as well. But just know that I love the suggestions. Like I said, almost every suggestion that people have made so far, like we have made or we are in the process of making from the computer standpoint, like recording standpoint. I really want to make sure that these are set up the best for you guys, right? Like how you want with the info you need. And so I love the suggestions. Keep them coming. If there's other ones you guys didn't make and you'd like to talk to me about them, like shoot me a private message on the Insight pages. And like I'm happy, like I said, to flesh them out and kind of work and start adding those into the queue and into the timeline. But kind of the sky's the limit, right? Like we can use this for so many different things. It just takes time. So bear with me because I swear I am going to keep working on all of that as time allows, but I'm still traveling full time and doing all the other things. So it's going to take me longer than if this was the only thing I was doing. But I promise I'm cramming it everywhere that I can to make sure that I'm updated with the things that you guys need. So thank you guys so much for being here. I really thought there would be like very few people on here. There was way more than what I thought would get on for the first one. So I appreciate it. I hope you saw some value in this and that you want to come back next time. As soon as I have a next meeting, it will probably be right after Lancaster-ish, probably sometime mid that week. Hopefully we can do another check-in, follow up, have some more discussions, and keep growing and improving. So thank you guys so much for being here. This was awesome. I had so much fun. Can't wait for the next ones. And I don't know how many days it's going to take me to figure out how to create the new website page and post this in there, but this recording will be saved and it will go up for you guys to access it forever and always. It might just take me a little bit to get that built, but I will have it up and then forever and always. If you miss one of these, I will make sure that it is then on the website and you will have access to them inside your account. So for anybody who popped in at the end, I just want to make sure you know that. So thanks again. I appreciate it. I'm going to log out now, and I'm wishing everybody the best. If you're heading to Lancaster, you've got tournaments this weekend in between the next recording or the next meeting, like good luck, go crush it. I have total faith in you guys. So thank you again. This was really cool.
Thanks, Paige.
Thanks so much, Paige.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome job, Paige.